Chapter 90. Carrying along this uneasy feeling, Qingya gradually fell asleep. Hugging onto Yihua while sleeping is very comfortable. If I suddenly lose him one day, I will probably suffer from insomnia. Right now, Yihua was also thinking blindly, but he wasn't as emotional as Qingya. Instead, he was thinking about how to get back my face. Could it be that I have to show off my manliness in front of her? I wonder if killing millions of people would be enough. If that's the case, she would willingly submit to me. This doesn't seem right. Just what is wrong? This is so vexing. Just like that, the two gradually fell asleep with their own feelings, until the sound of knocking on the door rang out in the morning, waking Yihua and Qingya up. Brother-in-law big sister, Qing Yutong stood outside the door and shouted. From her tone, one could tell that she was asking for someone. Yihua patted onto Qingya's shoulder. Go and open the door. Qingya grabbed onto her hair. What are you doing so early in the morning? What's the matter? Qingya opened the door and asked angrily. Qing Yutong could be seen to have already changed her clothes, wearing a big round hat and sunglasses. She should be considered to be fully armed. Big sister, didn't you tell me to go to Gaohai City today? It's so dangerous for me to go to the airport alone. Aren't you and brother-in-law going to send me off? Qing Yutong blinked her beautiful eyes, pulled onto Qingya's arm and said coquettishly. Qingya wrinkled her brows. You are already an adult. Do you still need to send me off? Can't you just drive directly to the airport? Big sister, you don't even care about your little sister. My heart hurts. Yihua was no longer sleepy. He got off the bed and said, let's just go and send her off, and eat breakfast on the way. The corner of Qing Yutong's mouth twitched. I feel like it's all thanks to breakfast. Since the man has already spoken, what else can Qingya say? She went to wash up. 15 minutes later, the two were ready. Qingya on the other hand was very happy right now, because there was no need for her to put on makeup. Her face was simply too stunning. Thinking back to the meet on that day, Qingya was very curious. Could it really be dragon meat? Yutong, drive. Qingya threw the car key to her little sister. Qing Yutong knew that it would be like this. The two of them were masters, especially brother-in-law. That expression of his was just like an emperor coming out of the palace. Sitting on the Audi A8, Qing Yutong successfully obtained the identity of the driver, while Qing Yutong and Qingya sat at the back. Qing Yutong, who was driving the car, silently thought to herself. Last night, they were clearly quarreling so much, and in the end, when I knocked open the door to take a look, I saw that they were actually lying on the bed and kissing. Yutong, for the next few days, properly cooperate with us, all right? Don't cause any trouble again. Qingya reminded. Qingya understood her younger sister's personality very well. Yutong was puzzled. Qing said, Yutong, I said. It doesn't matter if it's 1 or 2 days. You have to get it done. All right, in any case, you all just want to chase me away. When is my little nephew coming out? By then, we would have already run away from home, Yutong. Qingya. Qingya was filled with melancholy. It was as if she had already seen her child running away from home along with her younger sister. Yes said. I, Qing. I, day, I. Quiet down, what's there to quarrel about? Yihua said gravely. Quarreling every day, this is giving me a headache. The two goddess-like women pouted and quietened down. Half an hour later, Qing Yutong finally arrived at the airport. Aren't you two coming down to send me off? Yihua and Qingya directly ignored her, and Qingya even went up to the car and stepped on the accelerator, leaving behind Qing Yutong, who had an adorable look on her face. These two are simply angering me to death. They don't have a bit of sympathy. Let me tell you, I am going to run away from home for half a month. Seems to be a bit long. 1 week then. Let's see if you two are anxious or not. Qin Yutong, who was throwing a small tantrum, walked into the airport and immediately attracted attention. Although she was fully armed, her temperament could not be changed. Don't look at how Qin Yutong was carefree in front of Yi Hua and Qingye. When she met outsiders, she would change. After all, Yi Hua and Qingye were her relatives. In the car, Yi Hua said faintly, "Let's go out for a walk today." "Cultivator, do you want to go on a date with me?" Qingye teased, the corner of her mouth unconsciously raised up. "Can you remove the word cultivator from your mouth? Can't you speak properly?" Yi Hua felt that telling her that he was a mistake. If he were to directly tell her that he was a supreme overlord, things would get out of hand. Qingye laughed tenderly. All right, I will remove it from your mouth, all right?" After remaining silent for a while, Yi Hua asked, "What do you think of my personality?" Qingye was very puzzled. This fellow is not normal today. Do you still have a personality? Those who don't know would think that you are an emperor. Your face is cold every day, and you even have problems with the most basic communication. Yi Hua, are you sick? Autism, you are also a cultivator, you have to hide your identity. Qingye. Yi Hua shouted out gravely, this woman can't even leave the word cultivator out of her mouth right now. To even say that I am sick, her guts are really getting bigger and bigger. Look, after saying a few sentences of yours, you are jumping up again. As a human, you have to learn to be calm. Don't think that just because you are a cultivator that you are superior to others. You have to learn to integrate with others. Cultivator again. Cultivator again. Yi Hua really regretted admitting that he was a cultivator right now. After taking in a few deep breaths, Yi Hua calmly asked, "Is there any way to solve it?" "Do I really have to solve it?" Qingye found it hard to believe. Yi Hua couldn't be having a fever today, right? I am thinking too much. Yi Hua just felt that learning human nature was not something that one could learn on the surface. One had to put it into practice. However, talking to these low-grade creatures, I feel very uncomfortable. I wonder how Wei Chang did it. Yi Hua lightly grunted, feeling that he had lost a lot of face. I will bring you to a place. I guarantee that you will be able to get rid of those bad habits of yours. Qingye felt that today was really wonderful. Yi Hua is finally obedient. Bad habits. Yi Hua said gravely. This is the dignity of a supreme overlord, but when it comes to her mouth, it became a bad habit. Could it be that it is a good habit? Qingye snorted. Half an hour later, Qingye brought Yi Hua to a place that was overcrowded with people, the pedestrian street of Long City. Last time, I even came here to eat skewers. Why did you bring me here? Yi Hua asked faintly. Don't think too much, come with me. Qingye held onto Yi Hua's big hand and walked into Audie's specialty store. Inside the specialty store, there were almost all female salespeople, and when they saw such a handsome guy, they all rushed over. When they saw the woman beside Yi Hua, they immediately stopped their footsteps. The woman was so beautiful that it made people feel ashamed of their inferiority. Qingye sized up the sportswear, then looked at the suit that Yi Hua was wearing. Don't dress so solemnly all day. When it is time to relax, relax. Yi Hua remained silent. What are you in a daze for? Go and buy it. Qingye pushed Yi Hua, letting Yi Hua take the initiative to ask. Chapter 91. Yi Hua's breathing became a bit hurried. Are these small fries even qualified to talk to me? However, I have to assimilate into the human race, assimilate. If I am unable to control my emotions later on, Qingye will have to take the blame. Come over. Yi Hua shouted out gravely. The big sister was given a fright as she walked towards Yi Hua while trembling with fear, and her face was a bit pale. Qingye held onto her forehead. Can you be a bit more gentle? What are you being so fierce for? Fight. Shut up. Yi Hua said petulantly. Qingye snorted coldly, then walked to the side and ignored Yi Hua. Yi Hua rubbed his temples. Sooner or later, I will explode from anger because of Chinya. Chinya, come over. Chinya, who was pretending to choose clothes, snorted, but she still walked over. I'm sorry, my husband is sick. He has a language barrier. Just a moment ago, you even roared at me, see if I don't teach you a lesson. Don't think that you can bully me just because you are a cultivator. Oh, so it's like that. The big sister was relieved. She was scared to death. Right now, Yihua's mood was just like Jian Yun's mood yesterday, constipated. Beauty, does this set of clothes come with a couple's outfit? Chinya asked curiously. The waiter smiled and said, Miss, of course. Chinya poked the angry Yihua. What are you doing? Bargaining. Chinya shook her head. This husband of mine is just like a child, he doesn't know anything. Yihua's brows wrinkled deeply. Have I ever seen a supreme overlord haggling over the price when buying something? This wasn't bargaining, this was lowering the price. If word of this got out, where would his face go? We need to interact more with each other. Chinya said in a low voice. Yihua took a deep breath, then asked, how much? The lady was still very shy. She looked at the price and said, 489 yuan. Hearing that humans like to bargain with the lowest price, Yihua had an answer in his heart and said gravely, too expensive, 1 RMB. The big sister was instantly stupefied, and even Chinya was stupefied. This fellow isn't messing with me, right? However, looking at that incomparably serious face of his, he doesn't seem to be joking with me. Sir, although you are handsome, you can't bargain like this. The young lady wanted to cry. Even a handsome guy couldn't bully people like this. Chinya was hating iron for not becoming steel, how can it be returned like this? Let me do it, you learn more from me. Chinya let out a sigh. To think that I, the madam, would still have to do it. Seems like Yihua has cultivated himself to the point that he became stupid. Chinya picked up her clothes and touched it, then frowned and said faintly, 489 is too expensive, how about this, 488? What an auspicious number. This time, it was Yihua's turn to be a little stupefied. This is called bargaining. It seemed that this woman was even more ignorant than he was. She was still pretending to know. Even the waiter was laughing. The young lady felt that they were very strange. One was silly while the other was cute. They were a perfect match. Of course. Chinya raised her chin proudly and said towards Yihua, did you see that? This is called bargaining. It is truly a miracle that your company didn't go bankrupt. Yihua shook his head helplessly. What do you know? You can't mix the two together, okay? Hurry up and bargain like me. I can't do it. As expected, Yihua refused. How can you be like this? Didn't you say you wanted to have a good conversation? Yihua said faintly, I have already had enough exchanges with you. Chinya went into a daze, then pulled onto Yihua's sleeves. Where did you learn those sweet words from? They are quite alluring. Yihua took a look. Communicating with you is already troublesome enough, I don't want to add more troubles. Chinya knew that it would be like this fellow just doesn't know how to say some sweet words. Quickly go and change your clothes, it is so dark all day, can't you be a bit more sunny? Chinya shoved the clothes into Yihua's hands. If I didn't appear, you can just be a single dog for your entire life, who would be able to endure your temper. Yihua did not refuse and walked into the changing room with the clothes. Chinya also chose a set of clothes and walked into the changing room to change. When the two walked out of the changing room, no matter if it was the staff of the store or the people who came to buy clothes, all of them were shocked. Yihua, who had changed into the sportswear, indeed looked a lot more sunny, less calm and more gentleness. Chinya was the same too. It was as if she had become the big sister next door. Simply too childish. This was the portrayal of Yi Hua's inner heart. Tsk, look how handsome he is. The only thing that Qinya felt fortunate about was that her husband was still pleasing to the eye, to the point that she wouldn't get tired of looking at him. It could be said to be a great fortune within misfortune. Yi Hua was very unnatural as he urged, quickly go. Go and pay the bill, I didn't bring any money with me. Why didn't you even bring any money? Yi Hua was speechless, she definitely did it on purpose. You are my husband, when we are outside, I definitely need you to count the money. Of course, you are a cultivator, you can completely force me to do things. Yi Hua simply didn't have the slightest bit of temper. The biggest mistake in this lifetime was yesterday night. I originally wanted to use my identity to shock Qinya, but in the end, it had the opposite effect. Seeing that Yi Hua obediently went to count the money, Qinya was still very happy. She went up and held on to the man who was throwing a small tantrum. Men, after all, have to be coaxed, if not why would they be obedient? Although I am an ordinary person, and my husband is a cultivator, but so what? Yi Hua is still obedient. I will take care of you when we return home tonight. Yi Hua said gravely. If I don't beat you up for a day, you will start to climb up the beam and tear down the tiles. Qinya could be seen touching her abdomen. Baby, Daddy is going to hit Mommy, what do you think I should do? My God, Yi Hua is not only regretting yesterday night, he is also regretting that night. This woman is simply like a curse to me. The two returned to the pedestrian street. Qinya looked at Yi Hua, who was sullen, and felt that it was very funny. She asked lightly, Yi Hua, last night, you secretly kissed me, here it comes again. I already have 3 of my weaknesses in her hands, I simply want to die. If you are not happy, you can kiss me back. Yi Hua said gravely. I, the Supreme Overlord, would also have such a day, I really didn't expect that. Qinya tiptoed and said sweetly, as long as you admit that you are a swindler, I can let you do whatever you want, just like that night, immediately. The anger within Yi Hua's body rose rapidly, causing Yi Hua to turn pale with fright. I am actually being controlled by this woman, how is this possible? The words that I, Yi Hua, have said before are of enormous weight. Alright, let's see how long you can keep your words to yourself for. Qinya's breath was like an orchid, she had Yi Hua firmly in her grasp. Seeing that Yi Hua was angered to the point that he was speechless again, Qinya said sweetly, how about we go and take a risk? What do you mean? Let's just sit on a random car and go wherever we go, how about it? In actuality, Qinya had a small wish, and that was to go on a trip without any purpose. Boring. Let's go, Qinya, when did you learn Yutong's moves? Yi Hua wrinkled his brows. Qinya's expression immediately changed as she shouted out coldly, are you going or not? Actually, it is also good to learn from Yutong. Chapter 92. After getting on the bus, Qinya quickly fell asleep while leaning on Yi Hua's shoulder. It was only at this time that Yi Hua felt that Qinya was very obedient, and when she woke up, she became like a little demon. After half an hour of driving, the two got off the bus and changed into the minibus. Who knows where this minibus is heading to? Teacher, stop for a moment. Looking at the scenery outside, Qinya couldn't help but shout out. After getting off the car, Qinya stretched her body and said comfortably, the air here is fresh. Yi Hua lit up a cigarette, expressing that he was very bored. A truck carrying pigs passed by, and the truck carried a strange smell. Qinya's comfortable face immediately turned black, and even Yi Hua's face was the same. This is the good place that you chose. Yi Hua said petulantly. Qinya was a little embarrassed, how would I know, can't you treat me a bit more gently? Hold my hand and close your eyes. What? You want to steal a kiss from me again? Qinya's heart was beating faster. Who wants to kiss you? I am just changing places. Yi Hua let out a light sigh. I really don't know what she is thinking about all day long. Tisk, let's see what kind of flower you can conjure up. Chinya snorted coldly and pulled onto Yihua's hand. 1 seconds later, Yihua said, "We're here." Chinya slightly opened her eyes. Just a moment ago, everything in front of her eyes had changed. What she could see was a green lake, and all around her were towering trees. This was the real utopia. Yihua, have we transmigrated? Yihua poked onto Chinya's forehead. Just what is going on in that little head of yours? Chinya stuck out her tongue, then ran to the lakeside and opened up her arms. Yihua followed behind her unhurriedly with a cigarette in his mouth. With a wave of his hand, 2 chairs and a small table immediately appeared. On the table was a dragon blood wine, as well as the meat of star-cleansing sparrow and golden delicate crane. Don't just stand there. Come and sit down. When Chinya turned her head around to take a look, she was first startled by the things that suddenly appeared, and soon after, she muttered, "Having a cultivator as a husband sure is good, he can even bring so many things with him." Another cultivator, Yihua really wants to throw Chinya into the lake to calm down. Lying on the chair, Chinya took a sip of the dragon blood wine and said, "We will be able to save a lot of money on transportation fees in the future." Yihua didn't want to talk anymore. "Yihua, are you able to transmigrate to another world?" Chinya asked curiously. "It's simple." Upon hearing that it was okay, Chinya became interested. "When are you going to bring him over to play with me?" "Let's talk about it after you give birth." "That's true." Speaking of children, Chinya rubbed onto her flat stomach and asked curiously, "Yihua, will our children be like Superman when they are born?" "Chinya, don't compare children with those inferior races," Yihua said in displeasure. Chinya muttered, "I'm just asking, why are you getting angry again?" After eating a small mouthful of the star-cleansing sparrow's meat, Chinya seemed to have thought of something, and her mood instantly became gloomy. "Yihua. How long can you two live?" Chinya asked gravely. Yihua finally knew what Chinya was thinking about. This woman is actually worried about this. Thus, I decided to tease her a little. "A very, very long time," Yihua said leisurely. "Then when I get old, will you still be so young?" Chinya's eyes turned red. "When I think about how old I am, and how Yihua is still the same as before, I even have the heart to die. This silly woman, she is eating the star-cleansing sparrow's meat, and she is still worried about her appearance." Yihua said faintly, "If nothing unexpected happens, it will be like this." This time, Chinya was really sad, and tears of helplessness fell out from her eyes. If only Yihua was an ordinary person. Yihua didn't expect that Chinya's reaction would be so big. He was startled for a moment, then said slowly, "Of course, I also have a way." "Ah, what way? Teach me." Hearing that there was a way, Chinya was like a person who was drowning, tightly grabbing onto that life-saving straw. For people like us, every part of our body is where the essence lies, so, Chinya went into a daze for a moment, then immediately jumped onto Yihua's body and punched onto his chest. "Yihua. I didn't expect you to be so shameless and perverted." Yihua lightly hooked onto Chinya's chin and said with a light smile, "Such a beautiful face, how can I bear to let you grow old?" "You are teasing me again, Yihua, I hate you, what a silly woman." Yihua laughed out loud, then hugged onto Chinya's soft and delicate body. "Hugging onto my body feels very comfortable." Ripples appeared on the surface of the clear lake, and a light breeze blew onto Chinya's soft and beautiful hair. Yihua caressed onto Chinya's beautiful hair. If only you didn't talk back to me." Chinya closed her eyes and said, If only you didn't act cool all the time." Pa Yihua couldn't help but smack onto Chinya's butt. "The one who acts cool all the time is you, right?" Chinya opened her beautiful eyes and shouted out, "You only know how to smack my butt." Your butt sure is bouncy, it feels good. Yi Hua. Right now, other than acting cool, you have also become a hooligan. Yi Hua hugged onto Qinya tightly. What's wrong with me acting like a hooligan towards my own wife? Qinya felt that this couldn't go on, so she said to Yi Hua, I want to learn martial arts. Oh. Why do you suddenly want to? Because I want to defeat you. And then bully you. Qinya turned around and rode onto Yi Hua's body. Her posture was too explosive. Yi Hua laughed lightly. Your way of thinking is perfect, but you won't be able to succeed. In this lifetime, I am definitely going to bully you. Humph, if you don't teach me, who would know? Perhaps you know that my talent is extremely good, and you are afraid that I will surpass you. Qinya expressed that she was not convinced. Failure isn't scary, what is scary is that you still believe in this sentence. Qinya pouted, how do you know that I will fail? From the moment you said that you want to surpass me, you were destined to fail. Humph, you are just stingy, 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 Yi Hua. Yi Hua sighed, then held on to Qinya's small hand, pointed towards the infinity ring and said, with this ring, you are already invincible. Qinya was confused. Other than looking good, this ring doesn't seem to have any other use. In the future, you will know, my woman, why must you cultivate so bitterly? It is just like playing a game, we are all pay-to-win players, and we will forever be ahead of normal players. From level 1 to level 100, it is just a ding. Qinya touched onto Yi Hua's forehead, your illness is acting up again. Yi Hua raised his hand and was about to smack onto Qinya's forehead, scaring Qinya to the point that she jumped up and immediately ran away. See if I don't smack you today. Humph, you have to catch me first. Qinya still had the innocence of a child and made a funny face. If Qin Yutong were to see this, she would definitely rub her eyes. Is big sister infected by me? You run slower. Don't slip and fall. Yi Hua warned gravely. You are still so crazy even though you are pregnant. Chapter 93. Suddenly, a cry for help came from the forest. A man covered in blood rushed out. His panicked face made it seem as if there was a great flood or fierce beast behind him. Save me, save me, the man ran towards Qinya who was in a daze. Unexpectedly, his legs became crooked and he tripped over himself. He slid for a full 3 meters before finally stopping in front of Qinya's feet. His chin was almost bruised. Yi Hua snorted coldly. How can my woman be touched by someone like you? Yi Hua, quickly come and save them. Qinya finally came back to her senses and shouted out loudly. Yi Hua walked over unhurriedly and sized up the man. He discovered that the man did indeed have injuries, but the injuries were not as serious as what he had shown. Furthermore, the fainting that the man was showing right now was just an act. Qin Yuan felt that he was really unlucky today. He heard that this mountain range was extraordinary, so he specially came over to check it out. In the end, he bumped into a disciple of the Cloud sect. Luckily, he escaped quickly, but he also discovered an unknown secret. If this news were to be leaked out, the entire cultivation world would be shaken. The Cloud sect actually secretly dug up a dragon vein. However, he was injured. If he continued like this, he would definitely be caught. Coincidentally, he saw a couple camping by the lake. After observing them for a while, he felt that they were both good people. After all, they were so in love with each other. The beautiful woman was running around like a child, shouting for him to come and catch her. She was really cute and kind. The man doted on the woman very much, so he was probably a kind-hearted person. When he saw someone like him in trouble, he would definitely help. Look at this beauty is anxiously shouting to save me. I am so happy, hurry up and drive me away. What happened? Yi Hua walked over and asked lightly. I don't know, he just ran out from the forest, quickly save him. Qingye pulled onto Yihua's hand and shouted out anxiously. Yihua appeared very serious and said, Qingye, don't worry, it's nothing big. Qing Yuan, who was lying on the ground, cursed under his breath. What kind of look was that? He was covered in blood, yet he said that he was fine. Only a fool would believe him. Then, I can rest assured. Qingye patted on her chest and let out a sigh of relief. Qing Yuan froze. How could you believe such words? Don't believe a man's mouth, believe your own eyes. Qingye naturally believed in Yihua. After all, Yihua was a cultivator. Then, why isn't he waking up? Qingye walked over to Qing Yuan's side and asked curiously. He might have fainted from the fall. Just get some water to wake him up. That's right, why didn't I think of that? Qingye slapped onto her forehead. I am truly becoming more and more stupid. Qing Yuan felt that he should wake up. There were wounds on his body, and he couldn't touch water. Just as Qing Yuan was thinking, a comfortable feeling spread across his face, and his body couldn't help but tremble. Yihua, it's moving. It moved. But why hasn't she woken up yet? Not enough water. Oh. Qing Yuan was shocked. He couldn't do this, he was about to wake up. Cough, cough, cough. Qing Yuan coughed violently. Perhaps he wanted to make it look more realistic, so he used a little more force. Who knew that he would cough out blood? He couldn't stop coughing. Qingye was frightened by the bloody scene in front of her. Yihua, is he going to die? He's fine. He's just coughing out blood. He'll be fine soon. Qing Yuan's heart crumbled. Who the F***ck would cough up blood like this? How could these two people not know this common sense? 1 minute later. Yihua, why hasn't he stopped? Seems like he has a lot of blood. Qingye, lay him down. Yihua said faintly. Without waiting for Qingye to act, Qing Yuan had already laid down himself. Could it be that Yihua is going to give me artificial respiration? Such a beautiful woman, I'm so happy. What do we do next? Qingye asked curiously. Yihua pointed at Qing Yuan's chest. This person's blood is all accumulated in his chest. If we don't take care of it in time, he might suffocate to death. Ah, so serious. Qingye was shocked. And, Qingye, use your foot and step on his chest. Use a bit of strength, and he will be able to vomit out all of the extravasated blood. Yihua said very earnestly, and Qingye had never seen Yihua being so earnest before. Qingye wrinkled her brows. Will it really work? Qingye, look at how much pain he is in, hurry up. Qing Yuan couldn't care so much anymore. These two are simply inhumane. I am already coughing out blood, and they still want to step on my chest. Do they even have a bit of medical common sense? This beauty actually believed in my words. Cough. No. Cough, cough, cough. Qing Yuan wanted to leave. He didn't want to be stepped on by Qingye. Qingye took a deep breath. Mister, don't be anxious, my husband will cure you. Cure your sister. How is he going to cure me? He is going to take my life. You are going to be his accomplice. Bear with it a bit. Qingye closed her eyes and raised her foot. Cough, 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 cough. Qing Yuan went crazy. Even if you want to step on my chest, you should at least open your eyes. Who would step on my chest with their eyes closed? Sure enough, Qingye did as Yihua said and heavily stepped on Qing Yuan's chest. As expected, the coughing stopped, and Qingye let out a breath. Yihua's method is really useful. Yihua couldn't help but shiver. The place where Qingye's foot landed was too dangerous, not to mention coughing. Even if it was a heavy injury, one would still faint. Opening her beautiful eyes, Qingye looked at the place where her foot landed and took in a breath of cold air, then immediately looked towards Yihua. Yihua. I didn't do it on purpose. I just wanted to save him. Yihua shook his head. Quickly go and get some water to splash him to wake him up. Qingye, who was embarrassed, immediately took some water and splashed it on him again. When he wakes up, I will definitely apologize to him. I really didn't do it on purpose. Qingyuan really fainted. Originally, I was still fine. I just wanted them to save me and drive away from here. In the end, I am really not far away from death. After Qingye's unremitting efforts, Qingyuan suddenly woke up and took a deep breath. Coincidentally, Qingye splashed water on him. I'm finished, I choked. Cough, cough, cough. Cough, cough, cough. I'm sorry, I didn't do it on purpose. Qingye was about to cry from anxiousness. Why did I vomit blood again? Qingyuan opened his eyes, as if he was saying, don't torture me anymore, let me go, we can pretend that we never saw each other. Just that, in Qingye's eyes, this kind of expression completely became a signal for help. Don't worry, this time, I guarantee that I will step on the right place. Yihua slowly turned around. This is too cruel. Cough, 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 woo-woo. Qingyuan was in despair. He wanted to struggle to get up and leave, but he was held down by Qingye. You can't leave now, you will die. F***K, if I don't leave now, I will die later on, you murderer. Qingye immediately raised her leg, and this time, she did not close her eyes. Aiming at the position, she kicked down. Pfft. A stream of blood sprayed out from Qingyuan's mouth, and his entire body went limp, and his expression was no longer that painful. Qingye, you saved his life. Yihua said with his hands behind his back. Qingye let out a breath. What should we do next? Chapter 94. At this moment, two men in green robes ran out of the forest and saw Qingyuan lying on the ground. Qingyuan, on the other hand, seemed to have seen a life-saving straw, and with strength that came from who knows where, Qingyuan crawled forward with all his might. Save me, quickly bring me away. The two disciples of the Cloud sect were dumbfounded. Just a moment ago, this fellow was running with his life on the line. How did he become so withered in just a few minutes? It was as if he had masturbated dozens of tubes. Qingye said apologetically, just now, I was saving him, and accidentally stepped on the wrong spot. Ah. This was the first time that Cloud Sect's disciples heard that one has to step on someone to save someone, and they were a bit stupefied. But no matter what, they had found them. One of the men cupped his hands and said, thank you both. Farewell. Qingye also cupped her hands, about that, take care. Qingyuan shed tears of remorse. He no longer believed in TikTok. Who said that a good-looking person would have a beautiful heart? If God gave him another chance, he would definitely not ask them for help, even if he had to die. Yihua, I really didn't do it on purpose. Qingye apologized. Yihua took out a tissue and wiped off the sweat on Qingye's forehead. All right, didn't you save her? But don't worry, this is a medical accident, it wasn't done on purpose. After hearing Yihua's explanation, Qingye felt relieved. That's right, this is only a medical accident. In actuality, this kind of treatment was indeed effective, and it wasn't because of Yihua's ill will. Yihua just wanted to punish this man. To actually dare to lie to me, it is already good enough that I didn't kill this man. Cloud Sect's disciples were currently carrying Qingyuan back to the sect, and one of the disciples cried out in surprise, Senior brother, he is bleeding, isn't bleeding normal? But the location of the bleeding is not normal. Qingyuan no longer felt anything. When he lowered his head to take a look, he immediately fainted. That woman is so terrifying. At the lakeside, Genius seemed to have walked out from the shadows and was eating the star-cleansing sparrow meat that other people yearn for even in their dreams. Yehua, is this really dragon meat? It will be fine if you just eat it. It is good for your skin. Yehua lit up a cigarette and looked at the sky, which was gradually becoming dark. Yehua, why do you treat me well sometimes? Qinya asked curiously. Yehua turned his head around and took a look at Qinya, as if he was saying, "You idiot, how did you even think of such a question? If I don't treat you well, who should I treat well? No matter what, I am still the child's mother." Suddenly, Qinya felt that other than being beautiful and rich, she didn't have anything else. Sigh, this is so depressing. Looking at Yihua's high and mighty appearance, Qinya was in a bad mood and decided to just ignore Yihua and rest on the chair. What Yihua was currently thinking about was another matter. Tomorrow is the last day of the 3 days deadline. If Yihua doesn't return the money, then according to the previous rules, Yihua will have to pay back his life. To even dare to owe me money and not return it, Yihua's guts are not ordinary. No. Today was different from the past. Exterminating an entire sect was too vicious. Change it. This matter will be handed over to Wei Chang or Lai Gu to handle tomorrow. I still have to teach Qinyo a lesson. Look at her sleeping posture, my God, she is drooling again. Yihua. I want to spank your butt. In the dream, Qinya shouted loudly. Yihua shook his head, then carried Qinya and disappeared from the spot in an instant. When he reappeared, he had already arrived at the bedroom. After placing Qinya onto the bed, Yihua covered her with a blanket. Coming to the office, Yihua said gravely, Wei Chang, Lai Gu, come over. In an instant, Wei Chang and Lai Gu put down the things that they were doing and appeared in front of Yihua, then respectfully called out, Your Honor. Looking at Lai Gu, Yihua asked, Has your body adapted to it? Lai Gu said happily, It is all thanks to your honor that subordinate was able to create a body for subordinate. Subordinate was able to experience the joy of being a human. Actually, I still prefer you to transform into a dog. Yihua lit up a cigarette and said. Lai Gu expressed that he was very embarrassed, while the corner of Wei Chang's mouth arced up. Wei Chang. Subordinate is here. What is the meaning between you and that waiter? Yihua asked. Wei Chang didn't dare to be careless and said gravely, Your Honor, subordinate is currently experiencing the feelings of humans. Feelings. This caused Yihua to be a little puzzled. What did you gain? Yihua asked. Wei Chang bowed his body and said, After spending these few days together, subordinate discovered that the feelings of humans are very strange. Yihua became interested and asked, How strange? When Xiao Tang is not around, subordinate will feel a bit uneasy, but when subordinate is together with Xiao Tang, subordinate will be able to calm down, that's about it. Wei Chang was also very vexed, he thought that he was poisoned. Yihua wrinkled his brows, Why is this symptom a bit similar to mine? Lai Gu, tell me about your feelings. Yihua asked. Lai Gu paused for a moment, and after thinking for a while, he finally said, They are very awesome. Yihua, Wei Chang, if I were to ask you to go and kill that waiter right now, what would you do? Yihua's aura suddenly changed, and sharp killing intent emerged out from his body. A trace of hesitation appeared in Wei Chang's gaze, but very quickly, he changed his mind and knelt down on one knee. Subordinate will solemnly obey your honor's command. Yihua waved his hand, All right, don't make it so serious. Wei Chang, it is fine for you to get a girlfriend and experience human nature, but your real identity has to be hidden. If your little girlfriend finds out, you should know how to deal with it. Subordinate understands. Wei Chang lowered his head and replied. Lai Gu, you are the same. Subordinate obeys your command. Yihua lit up another cigarette and asked, Do you smoke? Wei Chang said, Subordinate doesn't smoke. Lai Gu, smoking is bad for the lungs. Wei Chang looked towards Lai Gu confusedly. You still have lungs. Is there any news about the other 5 sins? Yihua took a puff of the cigarette and exhaled out the smoke. Lai Gu changed his frivolous expression and said solemnly, not at the moment. Your Honor, it has already been 5 years. The other 5 sins have not been found yet. I am afraid that something unexpected has happened. Wei Chang's tone was filled with killing intent. Towards traitors, there was no need to give any face, even if the traitor was a former comrade. Yihua let out a breath. Each of you 7 sins have your own unique points. If they were to join hands, the 2 of you would not be their match, but you are still able to fight them one-on-one. Wei Chang and Lai Gu remained silent. The other 5 sins were powerful. Not only were they powerful, their personalities were also twisted. How could Yihua and his 2 subordinates not have twisted personalities as well? It was just that after learning for 5 years, their personalities became slightly better. However, who knows what the other 5 sins are doing? Perhaps they are still maintaining their original character. Yihua extinguished the cigarette butt, and a trace of red light flashed past his pitch-black pupils. My 7 subordinates are just like my 7 children. If the other 5 sins were to really betray me, should I kill them or not? Furthermore, the strength of the other 5 sins is not to be underestimated. Let's put this problem aside first. We will deal with it in the future. Let's deal with that Shao family that owes money and doesn't return it first. Yihua sat on the boss's chair and said calmly. Chapter 95. Lai Gu let out a sigh of relief. This kind of small matter is what Wei Chang likes to do the most. It is still more comfortable for me to lie on the bed. Lai Gu, how do you think we should deal with this matter? Yihua asked. The latter paused and swallowed his saliva. His Honor is here to test me again. I cannot be careless. Your Honor, just a mere human dares to not pay back the money he owes. Of course, he has to pay back the money with his life. Kill them all. Lai Gu was still the same as before, killing all the people he meets. Wei Chang, how do you think we should deal with this matter? Wei Chang pursed his dry lips. According to the usual routine, I will definitely kill all the people I meet. I can give up the money, but I cannot lose my face. However, His Honor will definitely not follow the usual routine, just like that Long Out Yin. Your Honor, those who owe money and don't pay back are the most evil. I suggest that we kill the person closest to them. Yihua was somewhat attracted by Wei Chang's suggestion. This is a bit interesting, tell me about it. Subordinate thinks that what humans fear the most is losing their loved ones. In the past, when we were fighting all over the world, we also saw it, but we didn't understand it. However, after 5 years of understanding, other than money, what humans care about is their family. Lai Gu took a look at Wei Chang. Where did this gluttonous freak find this fallacious reasoning from? Lai Gu, look at Wei Chang. When can you be as sensible as Wei Chang? Yihua was gratified. I finally made Wei Chang's IQ online. Subordinate is incompetent. I will definitely properly learn about human nature in the future. Lai Gu thought in his heart, learning about human nature on the bed. Yihua continued to ask, Wei Chang, who do you think Shao Yi cares about the most? Here comes another problem. Wei Chang thought to himself, if it's me, other than His Honor, it would be Shao Tang. That's right. It's a woman. Subordinate thinks that the person Shao Yi cares about the most is definitely his woman. Yihua felt that what Wei Chang said was reasonable. Nothing in life is more important than losing one's true love. Yihua went into a daze. What am I thinking about? True love. Wei Chang, you handle this matter as you see fit. Take the money, kill the person too. I will obey Your Honor's command. Let's do it tomorrow night at 12 o'clock. If he returns the money, then forget it. Yihua added. Wei Chang and Lai Gu went into a daze, then knelt on the ground and shouted, Congratulations, Your Honor. What joy! These two fellows had learned the human's flattery skills the most. Lai Gu sighed with emotion. His honor is clearly able to use his martial power, yet, he just had to use his brain. As a subordinate, I am truly unable to catch up to him. What Lai Gu said is right. If it was in the past, his honor would have long since ordered us to kill him. But today, his honor actually said to spare his life. From this, it can be seen that his honor's control over human nature has already reached the pinnacle. Subordinate is blushing with shame. Wei Chang was so excited that he even sprayed out his saliva, and that expression on his face didn't seem to be bootlicking. Lai Gu, who was at the side, was stupefied. This gluttonous monster's performance is pretty good. You all. Yihua laughed helplessly. Compared to the past, the current atmosphere was much warmer. Dong dong dong, Yihua, are you inside? Qingya's voice rang out. You guys go ahead. Wei Chang and Lai Gu bowed and left, then disappeared from the office. Just at this moment, Qingya pushed open the door and walked in. When did we come back? Not too long ago. Yihua opened the window and let the smoke disperse a bit. Although it was just a small action, Qingya's heart still felt warm. Yihua, let's go out to eat, watch a movie, and take a walk. All right. Yihua let out a breath. The human emotions that Wei Chang spoke of, are they really that mysterious? Could it be that I, the Supreme Overlord, already care about this woman? This is truly inconceivable. Emotions are the most mysterious thing in the human mind. Even a strong person like Yihua is about to fall into such a state. It is truly not easy. However, this kind of emotion was still continuously warming up. This was something that the two people didn't expect. Yihua admired Qingya's courage to be angry and speak out, and Qingya liked Yihua's concern. Although Qingya has a bad temper sometimes, overall, Qingya is still considered to be good. The morning sunlight was always so gentle. Without his sister-in-law at home, there seemed to be a bit less joy, but at the same time, it was also a lot quieter. Wake up, Ing monster. Ing. To be honest, Yihua rather liked Qingya, who was acting coquettishly. Caressing onto Qingya's smooth long hair, Yihua thought to himself, these days are pretty good, it is a bit better than the lonely days I had in the past. Seeing that Qingya was lazing around on the bed and not getting up, Yihua could only take forceful measures and directly carried Qingya to the washroom. Qingya naturally didn't want to comply, and the sound of quarreling immediately rang out. Qingya, who lost the quarrel, pouted and went out to buy breakfast, while Yihua went to his sister-in-law's bedroom, turned on the computer, and prepared to play games. I still have to practice my skills. No matter what, I have to bring my wife and sister-in-law to eat chicken, and not listen to the two of them complain. And after Qingya came back, she saw that Yihua was secretly playing games, so of course, she had to join in. In the end, the two of them had to play as a pair, and both of their lunch and dinner were takeaway. Yihua had led my wife astray. Yihua, play one more round, I want to eat chicken. Qingya pulled onto Yihua's sleeve and begged pitifully. Yihua pointed towards the clock. Look at what time it is already 11:30 a.m., don't you want to sleep anymore? Please, play one more round. You have been saying that you will play one more round since 10 a.m., you are already a person who is going to be a mother. Really, this is definitely the last round. After playing, let's go to sleep. Qingya opened her big watery eyes and even learned from her little sister to act cute, simply refreshing Yihua's understanding of her. This was also under the situation where Qing Yutong was not present. If she was present, Qingya would definitely have the appearance of a big sister. This way, she would appear to have a deterrent force, and in the end, Qingya was slowly accepting Yihua. Yihua let out a breath. One more round. Thank you, hubby, moi. Kiss my face full of saliva. TSK, this beauty here kissed you and you still dislike it. You can play by yourself. Don't, hubby, I know my mistake. Only a capable man can bring his wife to eat chicken, and Yihua actually forgot about the proper business. Luckily, Wei Chang still remembered. Wei Chang, who was currently on the first floor, looked at the clock. It is almost midnight, I still have to collect what I should collect. Walking to the toilet, he closed the door and called out, Death Mage. Within a villa in Longtan City, Death Mage was currently drinking beer and watching the match between Germany and South Korea. Isn't it obvious that Germany is going to win? Death Mage decided to gamble one more time, betting on Germany to win. Just when the match had just started, he received a summon from his master. This was the hardest time to make a decision in one's life. Death Mage chose his master, but where did his scythe go? Finally, Death Mage found his scythe at a corner of the kitchen. Dust had already gathered on it. I have to wipe it. I can't let my master find out that I am slacking off. According to my master's orders, I am currently guarding that long outyin. Chapter 96. Master. Death Mage respectfully lied on the ground and shouted out, hoping that his master would quickly give the order, I still have to go back and watch the match. Wei Chang wrinkled his brows, however, he did not ask too much about it. There is a Shao family in Zijin City, and the family head, Shao Yi, owes his honor 50 billion. Go and get the money back. Other than that, kill his most important woman. Do as you see fit. A mere trash dares to owe his honor money, and even cause master to be so vexed. How can killing a single person be enough to appease his honor's anger? I would like to be so bold as to request to kill his entire family. The corner of Wei Chang's mouth twitched. Wasn't this line used by him in the past? It seemed like he really wasn't as bloody as he was in the past. How can you change his honor's orders as you wish? Wei Chang shouted out lightly. What an unruly fellow. This subordinate deserves to die. As soon as it's midnight, you can make your move. Death Mage did not dare to ask too much about it. Why did they have to wait until midnight before taking action? This is truly strange. The opponent's strength is not bad. Wei Chang warned before opening the door. Master, don't worry, subordinate will definitely get back his honors 50 billion and a life. Go. Yes. When Wei Chang walked out of the toilet, he just happened to see Tang Wei walking over. Uncle Wei, Tang Wei called out sweetly as a blush appeared on her cheeks. Xiao Tang, when we close the door, Uncle Wei will treat you to supper. Wei Chang said with a smile. Yihua thought that Wei Chang would personally take action, but who knew that Wei Chang had a date at night, and thus called his subordinate over. In actuality, his subordinate was still going to watch the football match at night. If it wasn't for Wei Chang saying that the opponent wasn't weak, Death Mage would definitely have sent his subordinate over. The Zijin City Shao family was located in the northern suburbs. This was a manor that occupied an extremely large area. To be precise, it was not a manor, but a mansion. Just like the residence of the prince in the past, it was all Chinese-style buildings, with small bridges and flowing water. The environment was elegant, and it was the enjoyment of an emperor. In the east courtyard of the Shao family, Shao Yi was lying on a big bed with two beautiful wives beside him. One of them was Nangong Sini and the other was Yuqi. She was the most beautiful girl in the school, but she was taken away by Shao Yi. But that was 10 years ago. Although it had been 10 years, Shao Yi's wives were still the same as before, showing no signs of aging. This was all thanks to Shao Yi himself. Big brother Shao, you're finally willing to accompany me today. Yuqi stretched out her index finger and drew circles on Shao Yi's firm chest. Nangong Sini laughed softly. Brother Shao, little sister Yu is hungry and thirsty. You have to feed her until she's full tonight, Sister Sini. Why do you have to tease me every time? Nangong Sini lifted Yuqi's chin and said, because I like you. I hate you, Xiao Yi chuckled. He was also watching the match, but his thoughts were restless. He felt that something big was going to happen tonight, and it had been a long time since he had such a feeling. Brother Xiao, what's wrong? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? Why don't I ask Sister Shu Nan to take a look at you? Xiao Yi shook his head. There's no need. Besides, I was the one who taught Shu Nan his medical skills. I know my body well. Brother Xiao, why don't you rest early? You still have to take Yun, to sign up for the children's soccer team tomorrow. The little guy is very excited today. Sister Cindy coaxed him for a long time before he fell asleep, Yu Chi said softly. She then rubbed her belly and smiled happily. Oh. Is Yun that excited? Xiao Yi laughed. Although he had many wives, it was very difficult for them to get pregnant. Until now, he had only given birth to one son, Xiao Yun. Of course, Yu Chi was also pregnant. It was already 3 months, and it was a girl. She couldn't bear it for 3 months, and tonight, she had to do something. Nangong Sini said with a smile, isn't that so? Recently, the little guy has been saying that he wants to enter the national team and play in the World Cup to win glory for our country. Not bad. He already knows how to win glory at such a young age. Xiao Yi was very happy and looked forward to the arrival of his daughter. After a pause, Xiao Yi said, Cindy, I will start my seclusion tomorrow. I have a feeling that something big is going to happen. Okay, don't worry and go into seclusion. I will look after the company, Nangong Cindy said. Sister Cindy, I also want to go to the company to help you, Yu Chi said pitifully. You, just stay at home and wait for the delivery. Otherwise, someone will say that I mistreat the pregnant woman again. Nangong Cindy poked her husband's arm. Hubby, let's go to sleep, it is already 11:50 p.m. Yu Chi lightly bit onto her lips, expressing that she was feeling very uncomfortable. Xiao Yi laughed, let's watch for another 10 minutes. If Germany doesn't score a goal, we will go to sleep and feed you properly. Annoying, Nangong Cindy laughed helplessly. Today, you guys are the home team, I am here to cheer for you guys. Cindy, don't even think about running away, give birth to another one for me. Xiao Yi said straightforwardly. Don't, the other sisters are going to be jealous of me to death. Ha, Xiao Yi's arrogant laughter immediately rang out in the room. This is the peak of life, hugging onto one's left and one's right, and it's still joyful and harmonious, tsk tsk tsk. At this moment, outside of Xiao Residence's wall, Death Mage was leaning on the wall while hugging onto his sickle of death. His 5 hand bones were holding onto his phone, and the phone was still lying horizontally. The commentator's passionate voice was currently ringing out from the phone. 100 meters away from Death Mage, there were a few scouts that were holding onto night vision goggles and looking at the situation. Quickly look at the wall, there is an idiot. Quickly let me take a look, damn it. Seriously, not only did he not sleep in the middle of the night, he actually came to Xiao Residence to cosplay, and he even dressed up as a Grim Reaper, awesome. He seems to be watching the World Cup. Did you place a bet on the match between Germany and South Korea tonight? Of course, Germany is the defending champion. I even used the money that I used to buy a house to bet that Germany will win. Me too. If Germany wins, I will become a young model at the club. If Germany loses, I will become a slave. Ha, you know me best, my brother. However, we have already waited for a few days, and we still haven't seen a single ghost. That's right, there are only damned mosquitoes. Death Mage naturally knew that there were a few groups of humans in the surroundings, but he was not interested in caring about them. Right now, what he was concerned about was the match. Germany team, quickly score a goal. There are still 8 minutes before I have to start working. If I were to lose tonight, all of them will be castrated. Mother***, this family is truly tired of living. to actually dare to even owe his honor money, causing me to not be able to watch the match in the middle of the night. It is a pity that his honor asked me to only kill one person. What kind of great luck did they have? Looking at the time on the phone, Germany team still did not score a goal. Death Mage let out a breath of relief. After I teach them a lesson, I will cheat, I swear. Next time, I will definitely not cheat. After keeping away his phone, Death Mage raised up his side and walked towards the front door step by step. Going through the back door. That is impossible, it is impossible in this lifetime. Who is it? Of course, the Shao family had their own security measures. When Shao family saw a person that was wearing a black robe and holding onto a side that was even taller than a person, and that side's blade was shining with a silver light under the moonlight, Shao family's appearance had already explained everything. Chapter 97. It was just that the Shao clan's security did not expect that there would be someone who dared to come here alone. This aura was not bad, and they did not know where that prop came from. GGG. Death Mage naturally wouldn't be able to speak, and only Wei Chang was able to understand what Death Mage was saying. Imperial translation, they're here to collect their debt. Where did this lunatic come from? Get lost. Otherwise, we'll beat you up. One of the security guards took out an electric baton and poked it in his palm. GGG, Imperial translation, if it wasn't for his honor's request to only kill one person, the two of you would have long turned into dust on the ground. Yo, I'm giving you face but you don't want it. What the hell are you laughing at? See if I don't beat you to death. Two rays of black light shot out from Death Mage's hand, and the security guards who were still acting arrogantly just a moment ago were instantly unable to move. They were unable to even shout out, and only their eyes were filled with shock and fear. The jaws of the spy squatting outside almost dropped to the ground. Damn it! They weren't here to be funny, they were here to cause trouble. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Quick, report the situation here. Very quickly, the situation at this side fell into the ears of the various big clans. The sky above Zijin City was suddenly covered by a layer of dark clouds, and it was filled with oppression. Death Mage walked past the two of them, and with a push of his arms, the front door of the Shao family was easily pushed open. When the security guards inside saw that the front door was pushed open by a stranger who was dressed like a Grim Reaper, without saying anything, they immediately took out their guns and opened fire. Bang, bang, bang. The gunshot was so ear-piercing in the quiet night. Xiao Yi had just turned off the lights, and Yuqi's underwear was already down to her knees. Suddenly, there was a gunshot. How many years has it been? When did so many gunshots come from the Shao family? The two wives were also shocked. Nangong Sini immediately turned on the lights. Brother Xiao. Xiao Yi put on his pajamas and frowned. Don't come out, I'll go take a look. Be careful. The two girls warned. They were wondering who had come to the Shao clan. How audacious of him. However, the gunshots outside became less and less. Soon, it became quiet. The two women looked at each other and relaxed. It seemed that Xiao Yi had been taken care of. Let's go out and take a look. Nangong Sini said. Yes. Yuqi put on her pajamas and followed beside Nangong Sini. When she went out, she saw 4 beautiful women walking over. It seems like they are all Xiao Yi's wives. His luck with women is really not shallow. The 6 wives slowly came to the front yard, and the strange scene made them suck in a breath of cold air. All the security guards seemed to be frozen, motionless, and their eyeballs could move, but all of them revealed a look of fear. In the middle stood a man in a black robe, holding an enormous scythe. Because he was covered by the black robe, his face could not be seen clearly. His husband was standing 10 meters away from him. There was a stone bridge between them, and the sound of flowing water was particularly dull. Xiao Yi's expression was heavy. This person's ability was probably on par with his. Where did such a person come from? Why didn't he know anything about it? Moreover, what was he doing here? What enmity did he have with him? May I ask why you have come to visit so late at night? Xiao Yi shouted in a deep voice. His aura continued to rise. Even if he lost, he didn't want to lose. He, Death Mage let out a strange sound again, and the 6 beauties couldn't help but feel a chill run down their spines. I'm afraid it isn't appropriate for you to tease me like this. Xiao Yi was a man with a temper. Furthermore, he was an immortal emperor in his previous life, and he was revered by thousands of people. Although he hadn't fully recovered his cultivation, he still had his dignity. Death Mage suddenly waved the scythe in his hand. Xiao Yi thought that Death Mage was going to attack him, and a green long sword condensed in his hand. This sword was called the Broken Emperor Sword, and it was personally forged by Xiao Yi. The body of the sword was green, and there were all kinds of runes on it. When activated by his cultivation, it would emit a dazzling light, and it was the Tough King Xiao Yi's most proficient weapon. However, when he saw that Death Mage wasn't going to attack him, but was instead taking out his phone, his expression became even uglier, especially when he was so scared that he took out his weapon. Suddenly, the voice of the commentator of the World Cup rang out from Death Mage's phone. I was watching it too. Could it be that he was watching the match between Germany and South Korea? Why would such a strong person do such a weird thing? That's right, Death Mage was squatting in a corner watching the World Cup, and the face scan unlock was still on that screen. Death Mage took a glance at the screen. Damn it, it's still 0-0. I better get down to business first. Stretching out the hand bone, Death Mage was drawing on the phone screen, not knowing what he was doing. Meanwhile, Xiao Yi was able to see that hand bone. This isn't a human. However, the 6 wives who were far away were not able to see anything clearly. When Death Mage took out the phone screen, the words on the screen were very big, and they were even scrolling across the screen. There weren't many words, but it caused Xiao Yi to be incomparably shocked, and even the 6 wives were dumbfounded. 2 words could be seen scrolling across the phone screen. Return the money. There were even 3 exclamation marks, indicating that Death Mage was very angry. Xiao Yi tightly held onto the Broken Emperor sword in his hand. I am here to trample on the debt. When have I ever owed someone money? What a joke. Not right. That night 3 days ago, that man. Could it be that that man told me to come here to trample on the debt? Calculating the time that Qin Yutong called me, today just happens to be the 3rd day. Just like that, it's already a match. 50 billion. What that prodigal earned was all cash, and where would I find 50 billion in cash? It is possible to gather the money, but if the capital chain is broken, the company will definitely be suppressed by others. This was also why I wanted to deny the 50 billion, if it was 5 billion, it would still be fine. Nangong Sini also thought so, but she didn't expect that the person who denied the money would come to trample on the debt, and this person even made her husband vigilant. Sisters, let's go in, don't disturb Brother Xiao. Nangong Sini said tenderly. Towards her husband, she trusted him a lot. It could be said that her husband had never been defeated before. The women had also seen such a scene before. Although they were worried, they didn't want to distract their husband. All of them returned to the backyard and waited for their husband's triumphant return. Xiao Yi's gaze was deep, and at the same time, the desire that he had been immersed in for a long time was ignited. Being unrivaled is lonely, it has been a long time since I was this excited. Right now, it is hard to find an opponent. It is either that the opponent has some misgivings, or the opponent doesn't dare to. In any case, there are all sorts of reasons. And this person in front of me, wrong. He is not a human. No matter what he came here for today. This battle must definitely be fought, and it must be won. If not, Xiao family will become a laughing stock in the entire north. This is something that is absolutely not allowed to happen. I reckon that right now, there are already a lot of eyes staring at us. Xiao Yi took a deep breath. Let's fight at another place. Death Mage waved his left hand, indicating that he didn't mind. Such a disdainful action caused Xiao Yi to sneer. You don't even know who is standing in front of you. Do you think that I, the Emperor, will be afraid of you? Chapter 98. The two of them instantly disappeared from the Xiao mansion. When they appeared again, they were already in the mountains several kilometers away. This place was desolate and uninhabited, and it was extremely suitable for a fierce battle. Just like what Xiao Yi had expected, all of the leaders of the powerful families in Zijin City knew about what had happened to the Xiao family. At first, he thought that it was just a joke, but he didn't expect that the other party was actually serious. At the other side of the northern suburb of Zijin City, there was a manor that was very modernized. And under the surface of this modernized manor, various kinds of mechanisms were concealed, and all of them were personally designed by Tang Wushuang. That's right. This was Tang Wushuang's home. At this moment, Tang Wushuang had also received the news from his subordinate, and he seemed to be very surprised. There is really someone who dares to provoke Xiao clan. Was that man inflated? Or ignorance? Bam! Bang! I won. Tang Wushuang let out a heavy sigh. He had married over 10 wives, and only after he married them did he realize that all of them were gambling experts. Even his gold desert eagle was used as a gambling cushion. Standing up, Tang Wushuang placed his hands behind his back and let out a long sigh. Why are all the people with the surname Tang so miserable? Could it be that I am the reincarnation of Tang Bohu? Wushuang Quan Onrong walked over with a smile. Tang Wushuang was gratified. Finally, there was someone who was obedient. Enrong, you, Wushuang, I'm out of money. Give me a few million first. Tang Wushuang's entire body froze. Wushuang, I'm just joking. Tang Wushuang couldn't help but rub his wife's nose. Little mischievous, I'm afraid a few million is not enough. How about 10 million? Tang Wushuang requested for a close-up shot of the scene where Tang Wushuang spurted out blood. Alright, I won't joke around anymore. Did something happen on Brother Zhao's side? Quan Onrong pinched her husband's face and smiled. What a fool. Tang Wushuang smiled helplessly, and, there's news. If I didn't guess wrongly, they should be here to collect the debt. Wushuang, Brother Xiao is so powerful. He should be able to settle this easily. And Rong, do you mean that you don't want me to get involved in this matter? Tang Wushuang wrinkled his brows. He didn't understand the profound meaning behind Enrong's words. Quan Onrong held on to Tang Wushuang's arm and walked out of the chess room. Then they arrived at the garden outside. Firstly, Brother Zhao's strength is very powerful, and even if you were to go, you wouldn't be able to do anything. We won't do something like adding flowers to brocade, and if we are going to do something, we will have to do something like sending charcoal in snowy weather. Timely help. Tang Wushuang's brows became very deep. Brother Zhao's reputation in the circle is very big, even surpassing yours. Wushuang, although you don't say it, I can see that you still care about it. Quan Onrong looked at her husband's expression and continued, Tonight, if Brother Xiao is safe and sound, we will pretend that we didn't say anything. If anything happens to Brother Xiao, Wushuang, this is your chance. But Tang Wushuang fell into a multiple-choice question, and it was very hard for him to make a decision. Wushuang, if Brother Xiao really falls tonight, you really have to prepare for a rainy day. Zijin City will undergo another big reshuffle. All the big families, hidden families, sects, the world of cultivators, the world of special abilities, and those who live under the wings of the Shao family will have to make new choices. But I don't want to betray Brother Shao. After all, he saved my life. Quan Onrong sighed. How could she not know? But to help her man reach the top, she would have to sacrifice a lot. Wu Shuang, I'm not asking you to betray Brother Shao. You just need to be a good person. In an instant, Tang Wushuang understood what his wife meant. If Brother Shao were to be defeated tonight, then the entire Shao family would be without a leader, and with the identity of Shao Yi's brother, he would be able to support the Shao family once again. Not only that, he would be able to obtain benefits from this, and furthermore, he wouldn't lose his reputation, and other people would even praise him for being loyal. Wu Shuang, don't think too much. Brother Shao is very powerful. There are countless people who want to take him down, but none of them succeeded. It's very difficult for the thing we're talking about to happen. If it happens, it'll be your chance. Of course, you don't have to choose this path. After all, it's just a suggestion. Quan Onrong kissed her husband's cheek and walked into the house, but suddenly stopped, as if she had thought of something. Wu Shuang, you still have a master. Shao Yi doesn't have this. Tang Wushuang's body trembled. Master. How could he not know that this was a rare opportunity to swallow up the Shao family? Then, the whole Tang family would be flipped upside down. At that time, the Bai family would be nothing, and there would still be those aristocratic families eyeing them covetously. But the prerequisite was that Shao Yi had to die. The probability of that was even lower than winning the lottery. And in the western suburb of Zijin City, there was a castle. Looking at it from afar, it looked very much like the vampire castle that was shown in the movies. Furthermore, if one wanted to enter the castle, one had to pass through a drawbridge. This was the place where the Bai family lived, and the woman who lived here was Bai Cixin, who was known as the Beauty of the North. In the living room of the castle, 2 men and a woman were sitting on a sofa that was as red as blood. The woman was Bai Cixin. Just like her name, her skin was extremely white, and even the clothes she was wearing were white as well. On her head, there was a white scarf, which added a sense of mystery to her. On her delicate hands, she was wearing a pair of white gloves. And she was sitting on the main sofa, and the 2 men were sitting on both sides of her. There was no need to talk about the status of the family. Right now, she was holding onto a teacup, and with her bright red lips, she was tasting the newly grown Maojian tea. Debao, don't buy this kind of tea anymore in the future. You know that I'm used to Dehongpo tea. Bai Cixin lightly placed down the teacup. She didn't care about how much this tea was worth at all. In Bai Cixin's heart, there was only good and bad tea. Wang Debao laughed embarrassedly. Wife, recently, Dehongpo tea is in short supply. If you want to drink it, you will have to wait for a while. Look for the person who is hoarding the goods. Bai Cixin said faintly, killing intent surfaced in her tone. Wang Debao liked his wife's aloof look, because at night, he would be aloof. Wife, you have the final say. Bai Qi, who was sitting at the side, was very melancholic. He didn't care whether it was Maojian tea or Dehongpo tea, in any case, it was bitter. Big sister, how are we going to deal with Long and City? Bai Cixin said lightly, they are just some insignificant small figures, during this period of time, don't go to the south. Understood, big sister. Bai Qi paused for a moment, then asked curiously, big sister, we just gave away that 50 billion? Is that true? Bai Qi still didn't understand his own big sister. On the surface, his big sister looked gentle and pleasant, but in the dark, she was actually a female devil. This time, brother-in-law lost 50 billion, and when it was time for him to return the money, he would definitely ask big sister, and big sister actually agreed to it. In actuality, Wang Debao was also curious. He felt that his wife's intention was rather deep, but he didn't dare to ask about it. If he were to ask about it, it would make him seem like an idiot, as if he didn't even understand what was going on. It just so happened that his brother-in-law asked about it, and everything went so smoothly. "Debeo, what do you think?" Bai Cixin suddenly asked her husband. Chapter 99. Wang Debeo's fingers subconsciously started trembling, and both of his legs were trembling. Why did she suddenly ask me this question? She's not playing by the rules. How can us men understand the wife's farsightedness? The wife's thoughts are as fine as a needle and meticulous. How can a husband dare to guess the wife's intentions blindly? In any case, everything that the wife says is right. Even if she is wrong, she is still right. Wang Debeo felt that he had never felt so refreshed before. His bootlicking was done in one go, and there was no pause in the middle. Bai Qi couldn't help but give a thumbs up. Brother-in-law's desire to live actually made his choice of words a lot sharper. Awesome. Bai Cixin lightly tapped onto her husband's forehead and said indifferently, "When did I say that I will really give them the 50 billion? Ah. The use of the 50 billion will be tonight. Whether it is worth it or not will also be decided tonight. If it is not worth it, then we will take it back. Zijin City will not have a Qing family anymore. If it is worth it, then it couldn't be any better." The two men were stupefied. My dear wife is wise. Big sister is formidable. The two bootlickers. Perhaps the world might change tomorrow. Shao family and Tang family seem to be in an alliance, but who would be willing to lower their head to the other? This is truly becoming more and more interesting. Bai Cixin shook her head, then rubbed her thumb and index finger together. Let's wait for the result tomorrow morning. Bai Qi, you should sleep early. Hubby, let's go back to our room. Okay, Wang Debeo said happily. There is nothing more pleasurable than being able to press down on my wife. Looking at big sister and brother-in-law leaving, Bai Qi couldn't understand, why does big sister like Wang Debeo? This is truly depressing. However, not only Tang family and Bai family were discussing, right now, many big figures had woken up from their dreams and were waiting for the results so that they could prepare for their next move. The debt collection this time around was not only a matter of money, it was also related to the interests of a lot of people. Among them, there was more than 50 billion, and Yihua's carelessness caused ripples to appear on the surface of the calm lake. The ripples were gradually forming into ocean waves. The temperature in the mountains was a bit low, but the killing intent that was being emitted out from Xiao Yi's body caused the temperature to drop once again. The tense atmosphere continued to condense, and a wave of killing intent spread out in all directions. Although the broken emperor's sword in Xiao Yi's hand was not unsheathed, there was a sharp and fierce sword qi that was pressing towards Death Mage. Although Xiao Yi was only wearing a nightgown, Xiao Yi was like a king. As long as he waved the broken emperor's sword in his hand, heads would roll and blood would float around. However, this kind of aura was completely useless against Death Mage. However, Death Mage was a ranged fighter, while Xiao Yi was a melee fighter. It was clear that Death Mage was at a disadvantage. Adding on the fact that Xiao Yi was not an ordinary person, he had a lot of battle experience. It was very easy for him to find the opponent's weak point and deal a fatal blow. However, the Death Mage was not just for show. Although the Death Mage had developed a bad habit of betting on football matches, its battle prowess was not to be underestimated. Wei Chang had even said before that the number of experts that had died in the hands of the Death Mage were innumerable, because they had all committed the same mistake, and that was underestimating their enemies. But this time, Death Mage's opponent was an immortal emperor. Although he hadn't reached the peak, it was enough to make him suffer. Furthermore, this time, it wasn't that others were underestimating their enemy, it was Death Mage who had started to underestimate his enemy. Because, Death Mage felt that there was no one powerful enough on this planet, even if it was the person in front of him. I don't care if you're here for your debt or your life. Today, you will become a dead soul under my sword. Xiao Yi was not an ordinary person, and he wouldn't wait for his opponent to make the first move. A bright light burst out from Xiao Yi's eyes, and in the blink of an eye, a sword light flew towards Death Mage. Like a ghost, the sword light flew straight towards Death Mage's forehead. When experts were fighting, they definitely wouldn't use their strength at the start. Instead, they would use probing attacks, just like what Xiao Yi was doing. Don't look down on Xiao Yi. If it was Tang Wushuang, he would have to deal with Xiao Yi properly. Although Death Mage looked down on Xiao Yi, he didn't dare to easily receive Xiao Yi's sword attack. What Master said is indeed correct, this man's strength is indeed formidable. No matter if it is his strength or his speed, this man has already seen through the next sword attack. Xiao Yi's gaze became serious. As expected, this man is an expert. Xiao Yi gave up on stabbing towards Death Mage in front of him, and instead, turned around and slashed towards Death Mage. Emperor Broken Sword immediately blossomed with a dazzling light, forming a sword chi that slashed towards the air. The air in front of Xiao Yi immediately flared up, and the trees in front of Xiao Yi were all sliced into two. Death Mage, who was behind Xiao Yi, gradually disappeared and reappeared not far away from Xiao Yi. His body had already been sliced into two by the sword chi. Actually, in that instant, Xiao Yi felt that there was something wrong with the Death Mage in front of him, so he decisively swung his sword at Death Mage. Looking at the Death Mage who was sliced into two, Xiao Yi once again felt the loneliness of being invincible. This Death Mage is already the most formidable opponent that I have met in these few years, and he actually almost tricked me. Luckily, I reacted fast enough, otherwise, would have made a fool out of myself. This person is not that great, but tomorrow, it should be my turn to go and trample on the debt. This debt is much bigger than 50 billion. Qing family. You guys better prepare to receive my, Xiao Yi's, fury. Beep. Just when Xiao Yi started fantasizing about himself torturing the Qing family, a black lightning struck towards Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi didn't have enough time to dodge, so he used his sword to block the attack, and the runes on the hilt of the sword released a light shield. The black lightning instantly collided with the light shield. There was no bright light, the two of them disappeared at the same time, and it seemed like the light shield was cancelled out. Xiao Yi's expression was gloomy, and looking at the black figure who was not far away from him, he raised his arm and pointed his index finger at Xiao Yi. That disgusting sound came out from his mouth, as if he was laughing at Xiao Yi. However, Xiao Yi was indeed fooled. The one that Xiao Yi killed just now was only an illusion, and Xiao Yi's real body was nowhere to be found. Furthermore, a layer of the runes on the broken Emperor's sword had also been used up. Immediately, Xiao Yi's nightgown fluttered even though there was no wind, and the aura that Xiao Yi was emitting was still continuously rising. Even the leaves on the ground were starting to float into the air. When Death Mage saw Xiao Yi who was in front of him, he became interested. Xiao Yi is the strongest human that I have seen in the past 5 years, just that, the smell that Xiao Yi is emitting is very nauseating. Heaven punishment sword art, Brahma heaven's will. When had Xiao Yi ever been deceived like this before? Xiao Yi decided to take out his trump card and end the battle quickly. The broken Emperor's sword seemed to have sensed its master's fury and soared into the sky. In this pitch-black night, the broken Emperor's sword shone like a star. A terrifying power quickly gathered at the tip of the broken Emperor's sword, and the sky immediately changed color, and a rumbling sound suddenly rang out, piercing through the entire world. Death Mage raised his head and looked at the sky, then fiercely stabbed the death scythe into the ground with his right hand. Boom! The rumbling sound caused Xiao Yi's expression to sink even further. My opponent's strength is actually this strong as well. That stab from the scythe just now caused the entire ground to shake. Death Mage stretched out 5 of his fingers, and black threads were coming out from all 5 of his fingers. GGG, Royal Translation, Cave of Darkness. Chapter 100. However, no matter what technique you use, no matter if you are a human or a ghost, you will still have to die under my sword. Xiao Yi shouted out lightly as his fingers quickly formed seals. Broken Emperor's sword that was in the sky shot out a dazzling light, and that dazzling light brought along a terrifying power as it struck towards Death Mage who was on the ground. Before the dazzling light even touched the ground, the powerful airwave that was emitted from the dazzling light already caused all of the trees to collapse, instantly razing the ground to the ground. From this, it could be seen just how powerful this move was. And under this terrifying power, there was also a huge sound wave attack. However, Death Mage seems to have no eardrums. Go and die, trash, no matter who it is. Don't even think about acting cool in front of me, Xiao Yi. The people who acted cool in front of me have all been sent to hell, and you are no exception. Death Mage really didn't know how to speak. If it was possible, I would definitely have a verbal battle with Xiao Yi. You are still acting cool like this, I will beat you up. Looking at the terrifying dazzling light that was coming towards him, Death Mage controlled the Cave of Darkness and used it to block in front of him. Then, he secretly took out his phone and looked at the result of the match. The first half has ended, Germany and South Korea have yet to score a goal. I wonder who will score a goal first in the second half. I am truly looking forward to it. The sound that came out from the phone wasn't loud, but Xiao Yi heard it. Him. He still has the mood to watch the World Cup. He is ignoring me, ignoring my aura, ignoring my technique, and even more so, ignoring my ability to act cool. If that's the case, there are only 2 results today, either you die, or I die. Death Mage quickly kept his phone, then faced Xiao Yi's big move with a serious expression. After all, I have to respect others, I can't trample on others' dignity, and I can't sneakily watch the World Cup while others are using big moves. Go and die. Xiao Yi shouted out, seems like he was really angered by Death Mage's actions. However, the dazzling light shot into the cave, and then, everything returned to normal. A cold wind blew onto Xiao Yi's nightgown, and also blew onto Death Mage's black robe. Right now, Xiao Yi's stupefaction should be accompanied by a sad arrow, only then would it be able to bring out the stupefaction in Xiao Yi's heart. This is impossible. Just who are you? Xiao Yi shouted out gravely. GGG, Imperial Translation, your dad. After Xiao Yi heard this, his face alternated between white and red. He was still teasing him. His eyes narrowed and his hands quickly formed seals. Congratulations, you've successfully angered this emperor. Heaven Punishment Sword Technique, Buddha's Fury 9 Lotus. The broken emperor's sword, which was floating in the air, shone brightly, and the body of the sword trembled violently. Bang! One divided into 2, and then more and more. In a split second, the 9 broken emperor swords floated above the Death Mage, locking onto the Death Mage from all directions. Furthermore, the 9 broken emperor swords were condensing a power that was even more frightening than before. When this power was formed, the entire space around the Death Mage was violently distorted. Just like Xiao Yi's handsome face, it was incomparably malevolent. Xiao Yi hadn't used this move in a long time. He felt that no one in this world could block it. When he was an immortal emperor, he used it and the opponent disappeared without a trace. One could see how powerful this move was. However, his opponent this time was Death Mage. Wei Chang's valiant general. It stretched out its 10 bony fingers, and black fog appeared on its fingertips, just like before. Imperial Translation, 9 dark acupoints. 9 mirror-like bottomless abysses appeared around Death Mage. Xiao Yi, who was not far away from Death Mage, was stupefied. Just a moment ago, the mirror that Death Mage summoned out swallowed my attack, and this time, I have to continuously shoot out 9 times. And to think that Death Mage summoned out 9 mirror-like things as well. Just what the hell is this? Why are they able to swallow my attack? However, this time, it is different. The might of every single one of the mirror-like things is much stronger than before. No matter how deep your black hole is, I have to pierce through it. As expected. 9 mirror-like light beams shot down from the sky, and the entire sky became as bright as day. The scene was rather spectacular. Even the few people who were floating in the sky a few miles away from Death Mage sucked in a breath of cold air when they saw this scene. As expected of the Shao family's family master. But, after the 9 mirror-like light beams shot down, the night was still night, the crickets were still chirping, and the people who were stupefied were still stupefied. Shao Yi rubbed his eyes. After the 9 mirror-like light beams shot down from the sky, not even a fart was let out. How is this possible? Even the weakened version of Buddha's Fury 9 Lotus wouldn't have such an effect. Death Mage let out a strange laughter once again. Don't misunderstand, this is not a mockery. Well, that was a mockery. Death Mage suddenly opened up both of his arms, and a strange black mist suddenly blossomed out from his body. The black mist corroded the ground like a virus, causing Shao Yi's face to turn pale with fright. The black mist was like a tentacle that was trying to attack him. Shao Yi did not have the time to think and immediately dodged. Tentacles of Darkness. This was one of the Death Mage's ultimate spells. It had a very strong corrosive power and penetrative power. As long as one was entangled by it, they would suffer a fate worse than death. Moreover, this was a tentacle, and it was big, thick and round. Shao Yi had never seen such a technique before. He had clearly cut it off, but the tentacles immediately grew back. No matter how he dodged, there were always many tentacles blocking his way. As an immortal emperor, Shao Yi was like a monkey running around. His sweat quickly soaked his robe. In a split second, Death Mage grabbed hold of Shao Yi's weak point and controlled his tentacles to form a big fist and punched towards Shao Yi. Bang! Shao Yi's body flew out like a cannonball, breaking all the trees along the way. Boom! Shao Yi fiercely crashed onto the side of a mountain, causing the entire mountain to sway, and all the birds and beasts on the ground to jump in fright. Death Mage picked up the scythe of death that was stabbed into the ground and slowly walked towards the place where Shao Yi had fallen. Today's mission was not to kill him, but to kill his woman in front of him. I reckon that this kind of feeling will definitely be extremely pleasurable. How did Master think of such a move? More and more people gathered over. They did not enter the battlefield and chose to watch from a few miles away. Some of them were enemies, but for this kind of incomparable battle, they temporarily put aside their grudges. However, from the looks of it, Shao Yi's opponents were not weak at all. Among these people, there was a man and a woman who were wearing light muslin, and with just a look, one could tell that they were cultivators. Senior Marshal Brother, Shao family might be in trouble, we should go back and report this to the sect head. Junior Marshal Sister, the sect head had already come to an agreement with Bai family, there is no need to worry. Bai family. Senior Marshal Brother, Bai Cixin is not a good person, cooperating with them, we. Junior Marshal Sister, although Bai Cixin is vicious, we still need Bai family's resources. After this battle, we still have to make a trip to the south. South. Why are we going there? Of course, it is to bring treasures. Curiosity appeared in the Junior Marshal Sister's eyes. What kind of treasures would require them to take the risk to sneak into the south? Everyone was incomparably shocked. Originally, they thought that Shao Yi would be able to win easily, but from the looks of it now, Shao Yi's strength had increased by another level. Shao Yi was completely suppressed by Shao Yi, and they had never seen Xiao Yi being beaten to this state before. Seems like Zijin City is really going to change. However, as an immortal emperor, how could he not have a trump card? That would be looking down on immortal emperors too much. Right when Death Mage was slowly walking towards Xiao Yi, his body suddenly stopped, and he dodged to the side. However, he was still too slow. His left arm was neatly cut off and fell onto the ground. Right now, Xiao Yi was wearing a golden gown and silver armor, and his hand was holding onto a golden longsword. Although there was a trace of blood on the corner of his mouth and his complexion was not very good, in the end, Xiao Yi was still forced to take out his trump card. When the experts who were watching from afar saw that golden longsword, they couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. Chapter 101. When the spectators in the distance saw the Xianyuan sword, they all gasped. A few years ago, there were rumors that the Xianyuan sword had appeared. Who would have thought that it would fall into Xiao Yi's hands? If it wasn't for the fact that he was so strong today, no one would have thought of this. This Xiao Yi really hid his strength deeply, and that armor he was wearing was definitely not ordinary. This trump card was simply a king's trump card. Looking at his opponent, he had lost an arm due to his carelessness. Other than the black robe and the sickle in his right hand, he had nothing else on him. The difference in equipment was too big. Not only would Xiao Yi not lose tonight, but he would also become famous. His reputation would be even higher than before, and the Xiao family status would also rise because of this battle. Not to mention the other chain reactions. In actuality, the majority of the spectators hoped that Xiao Yi would lose. The current situation required a breakthrough, and tonight was a rare opportunity, just that right now, at this moment, Xiao Yi was holding the Xianyuan sword. The sword was releasing a faint light, and with his golden robe and silver armor, he was like a god descending to the mortal world. Just standing there would cause people to feel fear. But Xiao Yi was shocked. That sneak attack just now could have killed the opponent, but the opponent had discovered it. It was just a broken arm, and from the looks of it, it didn't seem to be of much use. However, he had already taken out the Xianyuan sword and the mystic tortoise strange armor. One was shockingly powerful, while the other had explosive defense. He didn't believe that he couldn't kill this skeleton. I didn't think that Xiao Yi, couldn't be low-key anymore. After tonight, the Xiao family will definitely rise to glory once more. Although the plan has been brought forward, it is not a big deal. Let the world witness the true strength of this emperor. The skeleton in front of him was only a stepping stone for him to reach the pinnacle, nothing more. Death Mage turned his head around and took a look at the severed arm on the ground. He felt very surprised, but at the same time, he was also very excited. This human in front of him had finally aroused his desire to fight. He picked up his severed arm and placed it to the side. Then, he took off his black robe and carefully placed his precious phone on it. However, he still couldn't help but open it to take a look. It was still a score of 0. God damn it. Xiao Yi silently looked at Death Mage's actions. However, when he saw Death Mage turning on his phone again and hearing the commentator's voice, Xiao Yi felt like his lungs were going to explode from anger. This was a very serious battle. Could they keep their hearts on it? But looking at the skeleton, there was no heart at all. How could such a creature appear in this world? It was unimaginable. The spectators also felt a chill down their spines. They had seen skeletons before, but they were just small evil spirits that could be poked to death with a finger. However, the skeleton in front of them had refreshed their worldview. Could it be that it was a Bone King? A divine artifact like the Xianyuan sword could only cut off one of its arms. Unbelievable. With the death scythe in his hand, Death Mage walked towards Xiao Yi and stopped 10 meters away from him. GGG, Royal Translation, since you're good at close combat, I'll play with you. The Death Mage was definitely a high-ranked magician, and his specialty would definitely be magic attacks. However, the Death Mage was a bit of a slouch. Actually, every magician had the heart of a warrior in their heart. Kakik. Royal Translation, High-Level Power Enhancement. Kakik. Royal Translation, High-Level Speed Boost. Kakik. Royal Translation, High-Level Long-Lasting Support. Kakik. Royal Translation, Top-Notch Defense Enhancement. Xiao Yi stared blankly at the Death Mage who was crying out weirdly. However, every time the Death Mage cried out, a different light would appear on its body. After the light flashed for more than 10 times, Xiao Yi finally came back to his senses. This skeleton was very weird, but Xiao Yi also discovered that the Death Mage needed to chant when it was releasing magic. As long as the distance between the Death Mage and the Death Mage got closer, Xiao Yi would be able to gain the upper hand. As for the Death Mage's scythe, I reckon that the Death Mage's scythe is just a decoration. Right now, Xiao Yi's speed was a few times faster than before, and he immediately disappeared from where he was standing. A trace of red light flashed past Death Mage's hollow eyes as he raised the Death Scythe in his hand high up. Boom! A majestic black light soared into the sky and broke through the dark clouds above. The moonlight once again shone onto the ground, and under the moonlight, the Death Scythe blossomed with a silver light. This wasn't just a simple light, the entire Death Scythe changed from black to silver. The eyes of the spectators who were a few miles away almost popped out. What is going on? How can a skeleton be so awesome, to be able to pierce through the sky with just a slight movement? However, in the next second, everyone was so frightened that they retreated a few miles away. Death Mage could be seen raising the Death Mage's scythe and fiercely slashing it forward. The huge might of the scythe spread out in a fan shape. Boom, boom, boom. Immediately, a series of rumbling sounds rang out in the world, shaking everyone's heart. Wave after wave of air was like a surging giant beast, engulfing everything in front of it. Starting from beneath Death Mage's feet, everything in front of Death Mage's body disappeared. The mountain that was still there just a moment ago had already been evaporated. The might of the Death Mage's scythe was actually so terrifying, everyone was so frightened that they retreated frantically to prevent themselves from getting injured. However, Xiao Yi's figure gradually appeared and stood steadily in the sky. The mystic tortoise armor blossomed with a bit of light, and the cloak on his back slowly fluttered. The spectators couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. Such a powerful might, and he is actually not injured in the slightest. As expected, Xiao family's family head is formidable. However, no one saw that there was a trace of blood on Xiao Yi's face. Xiao Yi, who was standing in the sky, looked down at Death Mage, and the astonishment in his eyes was unable to be concealed. Just now, I wanted to engage in close combat with Death Mage, and I didn't expect that Death Mage would actually make such a move. This is simply terrifying to the extreme. Not only is this Death Mage capable of long-range combat, he is also capable of close combat. Just who the fuck is this Death Mage? Just when Xiao Yi was feeling furious, he suddenly felt a killing intent coming from above his head. Xiao Yi's gaze became serious, and the Xian Yuan sword in his hand immediately slashed towards the sky. Bang! The golden Xian Yuan sword and the silver-white death scythe collided head-on, and the resulting shockwave spread out in all directions. Trees were uprooted one after another, and even the people who were standing a few miles away could feel the scorching heat rushing towards their faces. This is a true expert. On the battlefield, Death Mage looked at his scythe, and a crack actually appeared on it after being slashed by Xiao Yi's weapon. What a good weapon. Xiao Yi also saw this, and he sneered. This emperor's weapon is Xian Yuan's sword, how can it be blocked by a small scythe like yours? However, Xiao Yi forgot one thing, just how powerful was Xian Yuan's sword. It was only able to cause a crack on Xiao Yi's weapon, and that was enough to prove that Xiao Yi's weapon was not ordinary. Of course, Xiao Yi would be immensely pleased with himself. After all, he had subconsciously placed Xiao Yi on the same level as him, and when he was able to cause damage to Xiao Yi, he would definitely feel extremely pleased. Chapter 102. When it comes to close combat, Xiao Yi was indeed a veteran. Death Mage was being a little too careless in this aspect. It was clear that he was underestimating his opponent. However, Death Mage, who had all sorts of buffs, was not someone to be trifled with. Die! Xiao Yi's killing intent surged. The Xianyuan sword in his hand felt its master's killing intent, and the light on the sword became even more dazzling. The technique that Death Mage was using was incomparably simple, even a child would know about it. Other than slashing, it was just slashing. Right now, the two of them were competing to see who would reveal a flaw first. However, both of them were people who had been through hundreds of battles, so how could it be that easy for them to reveal a flaw? Not a single person could be seen in the entire battlefield, and one could only hear the deafening loud sounds, and the ground that was collapsing in all directions. The people who were watching the battle were all stupefied. To demand a debt to this extent, there really isn't anyone else who can do this. The two of them immediately separated from each other. The scythe in Death Mage's hand was already severely damaged, and the blade of the scythe was uneven. Furthermore, a few of Death Mage's ribs had been broken, and his situation was not very good. Furthermore, Death Mage seemed to have exhausted a bit of his strength. However, Xiao Yi was not in a good state either. His golden robe had already been torn into pieces, and the mystic tortoise strange armor that he was wearing was filled with cracks, just like a spider web. Without the defense of the mystic tortoise strange armor, how would Xiao Yi be able to withstand Death Mage's crazy attacks? Furthermore, Xiao Yi's current situation was more or less the same as Death Mage's. After a long period of consumption, Xiao Yi was starting to show signs of fatigue. The amount of spiritual qi in his body was also running out. He quietly took out a pill and stuffed it into his mouth. Xiao Yi felt his spiritual energy slowly recovering, but it was useless. He had to finish the battle quickly. Ha! Xiao Yi shouted, and the Xianyuan sword in his hand shone brightly again. Xianyuan art, furious slash. Xiao Yi's eyes immediately turned golden, and his entire body leapt up high into the air. The sword that he was holding with one hand became a two-handed sword, and the powerful pressure that he emitted caused the ground that Death Mage was standing on to collapse. This time, Xiao Yi didn't attack Death Mage, but the weapon in Death Mage's hand. Because Xiao Yi felt that Death Mage's weapon was on the verge of breaking. As long as Death Mage's weapon was cut off, Death Mage's disadvantage would be revealed. This was the difference between their equipment. Xiao Yi was wearing a full set of godly equipment, while Death Mage's entire body was filled with skeletons. If it wasn't for the fact that Xiao Yi was buffed with magic, Death Mage would have long been chopped into pieces by the Xianyuan sword. However, Death Mage also knew that he did not have much mana left, and his mood was exceptionally terrible. This damned human actually made me so miserable. Boom! The two weapons clashed against each other again, and just like what Xiao Yi had expected, Death Mage's weapon was instantly cut into two. The silver-white light disappeared, and Death Mage's weapon returned to its original black color. When Death Mage saw that his scythe was cut into two by a human, he immediately let out a roar that would make people tremble with fear. Black fog began to emit out from Death Mage's entire body. Death Mage had already lost his rationality. If Master were to find out that he still ended up like this after dealing with a human, where would his face be? Where would his honor's face be? Damned humans, go to hell. Use your blood to wash away your shame. A huge amount of magic power burst out from Death Mage's body, and the people who were a few kilometers away immediately felt as if a small mountain was pressing down on their bodies. Without caring about anything else, they immediately activated their movement techniques and immediately ran for their lives. However, when they were running for their lives, every single one of them coughed out a few mouthfuls of blood. And Xiao Yi, who was the closest to Death Mage, was able to sense the craziness of Death Mage even more clearly. His gaze was filled with shock and fear. I never thought that Death Mage would be this abnormal. If Death Mage had used his full strength from the start, I might not have been able to defend against him. But now... Xiao Yi quickly stuffed a few pills into its mouth. Right now, he could only fight with his life on the line. If it didn't die, then he would die. Xianyuan Art, Blood Sacrifice. This was the move that Xiao Yi did not want to use the most. It was a move that would cause him to lose 3,000 of his life force. Although he could instantly increase his strength, the side effect was that his lifespan and cultivation would decrease. If he were to use this move, he might not even be able to defeat Tang Wushuang. However, he had no choice but to use it. Xiao Yi grabbed onto the Xianyuan sword with his left hand, and fresh blood immediately gushed out from the Xianyuan sword. The Xianyuan sword was like a gluttonous child as it continuously sucked the blood out of the Xianyuan sword. Xiao Yi's complexion quickly turned pale. However, in just an instant, a power that could destroy the heavens and earth surged out from his body. This power made Xiao Yi feel as if he was back in the past. Xianyuan Art, Divine Destruction. Xiao Yi's body could be seen emitting a golden light, and it actually merged with the Xianyuan sword. The Xianyuan sword flickered with a multicolored light, and the sword chi spread out in all directions, bringing with it an aura that could crush everything in the world. The temperature in the surroundings suddenly rose, and the aura of a monarch was being emitted from the Xianyuan sword, causing people to have the urge to worship it. However, all of this was useless against Death Mage. Right now, he only wanted to wash away his shame, even if he had to pay the price. This time, Xiao Yi's timing was very good. He made a decisive decision and used this move without any hesitation. After all, Death Mage was still in the middle of chanting the Xianyuan sword, and he had yet to complete the super magic. In the next moment, Xianyuan sword flew towards Death Mage, and everything that it passed through turned into dust. Soon after, the Xianyuan sword fiercely collided with the edge of the black mist, and a dazzling light immediately blossomed out from the Xianyuan sword, lighting up the night sky once again. Death Mage resisted the power of the Xianyuan sword with all his might. However, he had lost his left arm, and adding on the fact that his magic was exhausted, he was completely unable to resist against Xiao Yi, who had used a forbidden technique. Xianyuan's sword slowly pierced through the layer of black mist and headed straight towards Death Mage, who was within the black mist. Your Honor. Master. Subordinate has failed in his task. The scorching heat emitted out from Xianyuan's sword instantly turned Death Mage into dust, and after the black mist dispersed, the world returned back to normal. Splash, splash, splash. Heavy rain suddenly started pouring down from the sky, and the rain fell onto the ground that looked like tofu dregs, and onto a person's body. The black tortoise bizarre armor that Xiao Yi was wearing was already completely broken apart, and only the shoulder guard was left. Right now, Xiao Yi was supporting himself with Xianyuan's sword, and blood was flowing out from his mouth non-stop. I didn't expect that layer of black mist to be so powerful, to be able to heavily injure me once again, making my situation even worse. Luckily, I managed to kill the black mist without any mishaps. Just that, the injuries that Xiao Yi received will probably take at least 10 years to recover. Cough, cough, cough. Xiao Yi let out a violent cough, and with every cough, blood would spurt out from his mouth. Xiao Yi's entire body was pale and powerless, just like a corpse. Although he managed to kill Death Mage, he wasn't any better off. Even his strongest defense, the Mystic Tortoise Bizarre Armor, was shattered, and not to mention the side effects of the forbidden technique, Xiao Yi paid a painful price in exchange for victory. Congratulations to Xiao family head for defeating a strong enemy, we admire you greatly. Congratulations to Xiao family head, we admire you greatly. Xiao family head's heroic bearing is extraordinary, we admire you wholeheartedly. A few figures landed beside Xiao Yi, and Xiao Yi had no choice but to prop his body up and pretend to be very relaxed. Furthermore, he even had to carry a smile on his face. However, this smile of his caused the injuries within his body to worsen, causing him to be unable to vomit blood out. Right now, I am very weak. If they want to attack me, I don't even have the strength to fight back at all. Furthermore, who doesn't want to possess a treasure like Xinyuan's sword? To be able to kill such a strong enemy is more than enough to prove everything. Xiao Yi straightened his back and coldly swept his gaze across everyone. The latter couldn't help but take a step back. I didn't expect that this Xiao Yi still has strength. Chapter 103. Enduring the dizziness, Xiao Yi left the scene. Everyone let out a sigh of relief. They were really afraid that Xiao Yi would kill someone. On the way back, Xiao Yi couldn't endure it anymore and vomited blood. After eating a few medicinal pills, he felt a bit better and found a water source to wash his face. He didn't want his wives to worry. Even though he had wiped off the bloodstains, he still exuded a sickly aura, as if he was about to die. After returning to the Xiao mansion, Xiao Yi was in a daze. It was as if he could faint at any moment, as if he was drunk. The 6 wives sat in the front hall, anxiously waiting for their husbands to return. When they saw their husbands stumbling over, the wives immediately went forward to support them. Brother Xiao, what's wrong? Where are you hurt? Nangong Sini's expression changed greatly. This was the first time she saw Xiao Yi so weak. Sini, hurry up and support Brother Xiao. Let me see. The woman who spoke was precisely Xu Nan. Her medical skills were outstanding, and back then, she also fell in love with Xiao Yi's medical skills. Xiao Yi replied weakly, I'm fine. Hold him down. Xu Nan said in a tender voice. She placed her delicate hand on her husband's wrist, and her expression immediately changed. It was too heavy. It was already a miracle that he was still alive. Xu Nan, how is Brother Xiao? Yu Qi asked hurriedly. Xiao Yi gave Xu Nan a look. Xu Nan sighed, Brother Xiao is fine. He will be fine after a few days of rest. However, in his heart, he was afraid that he would not recover even after a few years of rest. But the other wives would rather believe this result. In Long and City's midnight snack stall, Wei Chang and Tang Wei sat at the side of a small table, eating skewers. Tang Wei told Wei Chang about the interesting things that happened when she was young, and Wei Chang listened attentively and drank a mouthful of beer from time to time. Instantly, Wei Chang frowned. Uncle Wei, do you feel uncomfortable? Wei Chang smiled. Maybe I drank too much cold beer. I'm going to the toilet. Uncle Wei, I told you not to drink too much ice. Let me help you over. Xiao Tang, your Uncle Wei, am not that weak. Just sit here and wait for me. Wei Chang pressed Tang Wei down, and the moment he turned around, his face was extremely black. Death Mage actually died. How was this possible? After walking into the toilet inside the supper stall, Wei Chang closed the door and said in a deep voice, Evil spirit, Death Mage. A black vortex appeared on the ground. The black robe, the scythe of death with the smell of death appeared once again. Of course, there was also the skeleton. Master. Death Mage shouted out with deep regret, and prepared to greet Yi Hua. Wei Chang shouted in a low voice, All right, stop kneeling, the ground is very dirty. What's going on? I told you to collect a debt and kill someone. How did you end up killing yourself? Wei Chang was unable to understand. Death Mage's strength was not weak. Even if he couldn't defeat Death Mage, he should still be able to run away. Yet, he was actually killed by someone. Master, I'm suffering too. Master, it is subordinate who has underestimated the enemy, and has brought shame to his honor and master. Let subordinate complete this mission, and then use my death to atone for my sins. To be honest, Death Mage didn't want to be summoned by his master again. It was too shameful. This was what it meant to be reckless. He lost completely because of his recklessness. Wei Chang's mood wasn't very good either. If his honor were to know that there was such a process in the mission this time around, I wonder what kind of rage his honor would have. Wei Chang seemed to have already heard his honor's curses. Enough, I don't want to listen to your explanation. You better keep this matter to yourself. If this matter were to be spread out, the first person that I will kill is you. Who would dare to talk about such a shameful matter to others? Just how shameful would that be? Master, be at ease, subordinate will keep my mouth shut. Wei Chang paused for a moment, then asked while wrinkling his brows, is that Xiao Yi really that powerful? Even you are not his match. Master, that Xiao Yi is indeed not bad. He is the strongest human that subordinate has ever seen. However, subordinate did not lose to him, rather, subordinate lost to him. Death Mage said embarrassedly. This is all because master's requirements are too high. I can't kill Xiao Yi. I can only cripple Xiao Yi. Controlling Xiao Yi is very difficult. Wei Chang couldn't help but slap onto Death Mage's skull. Who did you learn this kind of conduct from? I will give you one last chance. If you are still unable to complete this mission, then you will have to stay in purgatory forever. I will obey Master's command. Death Mage held back a stomach full of anger. This damned human actually caused me to be reprimanded by Master. If it wasn't for Master only ordering me to kill one person, would have definitely slaughtered all of them. Go. Seeing that subordinate had disappeared, Wei Chang rubbed onto the bridge of his nose. In the end, didn't his honor still lose because of being reckless? Sigh, which of the 7 sins isn't reckless? In actuality, Death Mage can't be blamed, his understanding of human nature is too little. Perhaps it is time for him to find a girlfriend. Death Mage expressed that I am not interested in women, I am only interested in balls. Knock, knock, knock. Uncle Wei, is your diarrhea very bad? I bought medicine for you just now. Tang Wei knocked on the door and shouted out tenderly. Hearing Tang Wei's voice, Wei Chang, who had a bad temper, gradually relaxed. Opening the door, Wei Chang smiled and said, Xiao Tang, I am fine now. Uncle Wei, why does your complexion look so bad? Let me bring you to the hospital. Tang Wei touched onto Wei Chang's cheek and said with concern. Wei Chang held onto Tang Wei's small hand. There is no need to go to the hospital, I will send you back first. Are you really fine? Tang Wei was still very worried. Wei Chang pinched onto Tang Wei's nose. I am fine. When Death Mage arrived at the scene of the accident once again, he discovered that the damned human had disappeared, and his phone was destroyed as well. Death Mage was simply about to go crazy. That is an Apple X that I bought while enduring the pain in my heart. Not only does this damned human want to pay me back 50 billion and a human life, he also wants to pay me back my Apple X. After finished speaking, Death Mage disappeared from where he was and arrived at the entrance of Xiao residence. The 2 security guards were stupefied. At the front hall, Shu Nan was currently helping Xiao Yi bandage up his external injuries. Xiao Yi's internal injuries could only be slowly nursed back to health. Cindy, I will be going into closed-door training soon, and I won't be able to accompany you and Yun to register for the tournament tomorrow. Xiao Yi said gravely. After going through this battle, Xiao family will definitely reach new heights. However, I have to recover my strength as soon as possible. Nangong Sini said concernedly, Brother Xiao, you can go into closed-door training with a peace of mind, I will take care of the matters at home. And, with you two here, I can be at ease. Xiao Yi stretched out his hand and touched onto his beloved wife's cheek, and doting could be seen within his gaze. Meanwhile, Nangong Sini was enjoying her husband's caress very much. Gg. Immediately, a strange sound transmitted into the front hall. The tender expression on Xiao Yi's face froze, and the 6 wives turned their heads and looked towards the entrance. Sickle. Black robe. It was a strange sound. Death Mage walked towards the front hall step by step, and stopped when he was 5 meters away from the front hall. The atmosphere in the front hall immediately froze. Xiao Yi looked at Death Mage who was walking towards him foolishly, and his mind was in a daze. Didn't I turn Death Mage into powder? How long has it been since then? Why did Death Mage come out again? Or could it be that Death Mage has a brother? Gg. Imperial translation. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? Xiao Yi couldn't be any more familiar with this kind of sound. Why did Death Mage come back to life? Why is it like this? In order to kill Death Mage, I paid a painful price. Why did Death Mage come back to life in an instant? No, this isn't fair. The heavens aren't fair. Chapter 104. Death Mage stood there woodenly and didn't make any movements. It was as if he was a relative or friend who had come to visit him. However, everyone present knew that he didn't come with good intentions. Xiao Yi's wives knew that they weren't a match for this monster, but they still protected him. If he wanted to die, he would kill them first. If Lai Gu was here, he would definitely take Xiao Yi in and train him well. Lai Gu wasn't a picky eater, and furthermore, all of Xiao Yi's wives were beautiful and alluring. It was a pity that Death Mage wasn't interested in them. Get out. You're not welcome here. Yuqi didn't know where she got her courage from, but she shouted in a deep voice. Xiao Yi propped himself up from the chair. He was afraid that he would be doomed tonight. Let them out. Your opponent is me. Xiao Yi coldly said. However, the moment he spoke, his wound opened up and blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Brother Xiao, you can't fight anymore. Shu Nan immediately supported her husband and used her white sleeves to wipe off the blood stains. Her eyes were filled with worry. Yuqi nodded. Brother Xiao, although we don't know much about martial arts, we can still fight with this monster. Xiao Yi gasped for breath. Now wasn't the time to be a hero. He had to run as fast as he could. Why are you so disobedient? Let's go. Xiao Yi cried out in pain. He didn't know that he would have such a day. In the past, it was always him who made others suffer, but now it was his turn. Was this heaven's retribution for him? Nangong Sini supported her husband and said softly, Brother Xiao, even if we die, we will die together. Yes. That's right. The eyes of the 6 women were firm. They did not wish to be born on the same day, but they wished to die on the same day. Why are you doing this, Sini? Take good care of her. Yuqi, be a good girl and give birth to your daughter. Xiao Yi's tone was almost pleading. However, the girls had already made up their minds. If they were to die, they would die together. Do you want me to kneel down and beg you? Xiao Yi roared angrily and immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. Yuqi's white pajamas were instantly dyed red. Brother Xiao, Brother Xiao. Right when the two of them were reluctant to part with each other, Death Mage finally moved. Stretching out his hand, Death Mage pointed towards the phone that was on the table. Everyone was shocked. Xiao Yi said in a deep voice, Give it the phone. Nangong Sini picked up the phone and passed it to Death Mage. When Death Mage held onto the phone, he discovered that it was not unlocked. so he gestured to Nangong Sini. This handphone belonged to Shu Nan. Looking at the skeleton in front of her, she did not feel any fear in her heart. She picked up the handphone from the skeleton's hand and scanned her own face, then heavily threw the handphone onto Death Mage's hand. GGG, Imperial Translation, he has character. He reached out his hand and tapped on the screen of his phone, and the screen lit up. It was still scrolling. It was still the same word. Pay back the money. Everyone was startled. I had originally thought that the other party was here to take revenge, but I didn't expect that the other party was still here to return the money. Why is he so stubborn? Xiao Yi heaved a sigh of relief. If it was just money, then it was fine. Sini, prepare the money. Xiao Yi said weakly. Nangong Sini frowned. We don't have that much cash. Even if we want to raise money, it's not something that can be done in a short while. Then we'll use real estate to pay for it, Xiao Yi said. Although it was not worth it, it was the only hope to save his family. Nangong Sini nodded her head. Suddenly, she felt that Wang Debao was too much of a mechanism. A few days ago, I was still laughing at him for being stupid, but I didn't expect that he was actually a smart person. Regret, I blame myself for randomly coming up with this idea. Wait a moment, I'll go and write the transfer letter. Nangong Sini said coldly. Death Mage actually nodded his head, causing everyone to let out a sigh of relief. As long as the problem could be solved with money, then it wouldn't be a problem. Suddenly, Death Mage saw a television that was placed at the side. Under everyone's astonished gaze, Death Mage walked over, turned on the television, and selected CCTV 5. However, the match had just ended, and when Death Mage saw the score on the television, his entire person felt bad. Forget about being killed once, I even lost the ball. I even lost all of my belongings. I can't tolerate this anymore. I'm going to castrate those useless humans. They can't even win against South Korea. Xiao Yi was feeling very bad right now. From the start until now, the other party had already watched the World Cup 4 times, and 2 of those times were even during the World Cup. Why is it so attached to the World Cup? Why did I lose to such a strange opponent? Why? My illustrious reputation has been ruined tonight. Bang! Death Mage smashed the coffee table with a punch, giving everyone a fright. Death Mage thought that the other party was going to flip out, but who knew that he would walk back and forth, point at the television and let out that horrifying voice, seemingly as if he was cursing at the television. After cursing at the television, Death Mage decided that he was going to get back his money. Those money that they had was illegal. I have the right to get it back. After I finish this matter, I will go and get back my debt. In any case, I had gambled 1000 RMB, and that was all of my belongings. Recently, Master has been giving me very little work, and I am not able to earn much money. I am even almost unable to pay the electricity bill. And this time, I am also unable to draw any water from the 50 billion that I stepped on. That is His Honor's money. Just thinking about it makes me scared. Death Mage turned his head around and took a look at the beauties. The things that are on their necks, fingers, and wrists, those things seem to be quite valuable. Xiao Yi's wives naturally noticed Death Mage's gaze. Although Death Mage doesn't have any eyeballs, they were still able to feel that Death Mage was looking at their bodies. This shameless skeleton. Death Mage hugged onto his side and walked here and there. Sometimes, he would even walk to the side of the 6 women and look at their progress. Death Mage was acting just like a loafer. Xiao Yi found it hard to believe that he would lose to an opponent like this. Death Mage doesn't even have a bit of the demeanor of an expert. In any case, I have killed you once, but you don't even look at me, you are simply a bastard. Did your hatred get eaten by dogs? About half an hour later, Nangong Sini finished drafting the transfer documents, and even stamped her official seal and signature on the documents. Nangong Sini handed over the documents and said coldly, the market value of these three companies is more than 50 billion. Only more, no less. Death Mage didn't even look at the documents and kept them into his bosom, then pointed at the beauties. The 6 beauties couldn't help but take a step back. Xiao Yi even slammed the table and stood up, but very quickly, he vomited out a mouthful of blood and sat back down. Right now, Death Mage just wanted to say, the thoughts of you humans are too dirty. After Death Mage signaled to the women finally understood. This skeleton wants jewelry. However, these jewelry were all given to them by Xiao Yi. Although they were a bit reluctant to part with these jewelry, but no matter how reluctant they were, they still had to hand over the jewelry. Death Mage happily kept the jewelry, then picked up his phone and tapped on it again. He was preparing to do one last thing. Death Mage took out his phone. Collect interest. Xiao Yi and the others cursed at Death Mage for being shameless. These 3 companies are all worth more than 50 billion, and yet, Death Mage still wants to collect interest. However, when Xiao Yi saw the last few words on the phone, his heart sunk. One life. Death Mage seemed to have forgotten something as he typed out another message. Chapter 105. Death Mage recalled his master's instructions. It seems to be like this, if I didn't remember wrongly. Xiao Yi's entire body was shaking. This was going too far. He actually wanted him to kill the person he loved the most. Otherwise, all of them would die. Xiao Yi opened his bloodshot eyes wide and suddenly shouted, "Bastard! I'll fight it out with you. Even if I die, I'll drag you down with me. Brother Xiao, don't move anymore, you will die if you continue like this." Shu Nan knew that her husband's injuries must have worsened again. "Don't pull me, I want to perish together with it." Xiao Yi rolled and crawled over to Death Mage's side, then grabbed onto Death Mage's bones and shouted angrily. Death Mage remained indifferent as he waited for them to make their choice. It has been a long time since I have heard such words from Death Mage, and I am feeling a bit nostalgic. Nangong Sini didn't pull her husband. She said softly, "Brother Xiao, you often saved me in the past. This time, it's Sini's turn to save you and the whole Xiao family." Xiao Yi turned his head in a daze and looked at his wife's gentle smile. Bits and pieces of their past flashed through his mind like a movie. No. No. Sini, you can't do this. Xiao Yi couldn't even stand up and crawled to his wife. Nangong Sini squatted down and combed her husband's hair. She gently wiped the blood from the corner of her husband's mouth. "Brother Xiao, to be able to know you, Sini has never regretted in this life. Although you were very annoying at the beginning, I still like you. After I leave, you have to take good care of Yunair, understand?" Xiao Yi stretched out his trembling hand and caressed his wife's cheek. "Don't, we still have a long way to go, Yun cannot be without a mother." "Brother Xiao, Sister Sini, let me do it." Shu Nan took a deep breath and said in a deep voice. Yuchi couldn't stop crying. "Let me do it. Yuchi, you have a child. Let me do it. Let me do it, Brother Xiao." Nangong Sini's eyebrows furrowed as she lightly shouted, "All of you, shut up. Your mission in the future is to take good care of Brother Xiao. This was all my idea. If I had asked Brother Xiao to return the money, this wouldn't have happened. I should be the one to bear the consequences." Death Mage seemed to have become impatient from waiting. "Hurry up and kill one of them so that I can go and collect the debt from the others." He, Imperial Translator, hurry up. Nangong Sini could tell that he was telling them to hurry up. She said softly, "Brother Xiao, let me do something for the Xiao family. Otherwise, Yun will not be safe. Where there's life, there's hope. Don't look down on women." Nangong Sini was asking her husband to endure and wait for him to rise again. Brother Xiao, Cindy won't be able to take care of you in the future. You have to take good care of yourself and Yun. He's our only son. Nangong Cindy, who had always been strong, couldn't help but burst into tears when she thought of her son. As an immortal emperor, Xiao Yi had never cried before. But now, his face was full of tears and helplessness. Cindy, let me kill you. How could I do it? Xiao Yi cried out in pain. Blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth and his eyes were bloodshot. Nangong Cindy immediately stood up, picked up the Xianyuan sword at the side, and then placed it in her husband's hand. Brother Xiao, since things have come to this, do you want to see us all die? Do you want to see Yun die? Do you want to see the child in Yuqi's belly die? Since when did you become so indecisive? Xiao Yi had never felt that the Xianyuan sword was so heavy. He looked at his wife and said, I can't do it, I really can't do it. Just when the Xiao family was reluctant to part with the Xianyuan sword, a black whirlpool appeared in the hall. A figure walked out from the whirlpool, and his entire body was wrapped in black mist. The Xiao family was all stupefied. Who is this? However, in the next second, they were even more shocked. Death Mage retreated a few steps and knelt on the ground. With both of his hands on the ground, he respectfully shouted, Master. That's right, the person who came was Wei Chang. He had just sent Tang Wei home and realized that his subordinates were not done with their business. Did something happen again? Thus, he specially came over to take a look. Xiao Yi only felt that the world was spinning. This skeleton was already very powerful, and it actually made the black mist so respectful. Then, what realm was this black mist at? Xiao Yi had never felt that he was so insignificant before. He felt that this black mist could kill him with a single finger. Just who are they? It's impossible that they are the people that man called over. How could this kind of expert be controlled by others? Wei Chang nodded. Death Mage stood up and took out his phone to type something. Then, he showed his phone. We pay our respects to Master. Everyone from the Xiao family had their own dignity, but Death Mage had already released his might, causing everyone to kneel on the ground. Wei Chang looked at the person in front of him coldly. To actually dare to refuse to pay me back, you truly deserve to die. After taking over the document that Death Mage passed over, Wei Chang took a look at the document and kept it. Then, he said faintly, hurry up. Death Mage replied respectfully. And Wei Chang took another look at the document, then stepped into the black whirlpool and disappeared. Death Mage typed another word. Last minute. All of the women felt that they had provoked an extremely powerful person this time around. This was a feeling that they had never felt before. In the past, they felt that they still had the ability to fight back, but the person who just appeared did not even have the thought of fighting back. How could Xiao Yi not have the same feeling? That person just now was completely capable of killing all of us, so why did he want me to kill my beloved woman? Could it be that you all aren't afraid of me taking revenge? What Wei Chang was least afraid of was taking revenge. If the person behind me comes, you will slowly kill the woman beside me. Brother Xiao, don't take revenge for me, live on properly, we cannot afford to provoke them. Nangong Cindy gave the most rational suggestion to Xiao Yi. The other party is like a titan, and we are just ants. It is already a kind of leniency for them to not kill all of us. Only until death did Nangong Cindy realize this point. Just how lucky is it to only kill one person? Without waiting for Xiao Yi to react, Nangong Cindy grabbed onto Xianyuan's sword that was in her husband's hand and fiercely pulled. Tsk, this was the sound of a sharp object piercing into flesh. Xianyuan's sword pierced through Nangong Cindy's abdomen, and the tip of the sword that was dripping with blood appeared on Nangong Cindy's back. Cindy! Xiao Yi roared out as he looked at his own hand in disbelief. I killed my beloved. No. Xiao Yi hugged onto his wife and roared towards the sky, and tears of blood flowed out from the corner of his eyes. Nangong Sini, who was lying in her husband's embrace, revealed out a trace of a smile and said weakly, "Brother Xiao, your embrace is still so warm." After finished speaking, Nangong Sini slowly closed her beautiful eyes, and Death Mage disappeared from Xiao residence as well. Death Mage was preparing to collect his debt. Xiao residence's main hall was filled with a sorrowful atmosphere. Xiao Yi sat on the ground and foolishly hugged onto his wife's corpse. Both of his eyes were already unfocused, and he looked as if he had become demented. Chapter 106. Because of the angle, Xiaoyun didn't see his mother, who was in his father's embrace. "Daddy, I miss Mommy." Hearing his son's words, tears of regret flowed out from Xiao Yi's eyes. Shu Nan immediately carried Xiaoyun and pretended that nothing happened, then said with a smile, "Yun, Mommy went out tonight to earn money for Yun, Xiaoyun pouted his small mouth. "Mommy also said that I will accompany Yun, to sign up for the children's soccer team tomorrow." "Yun, be good, I will accompany you to sign up for the soccer team, okay? Daddy is very tired today, and I need to rest tomorrow." Shu Nan comforted Nangong Sini's only son, but every word that she said made her heart ache. "And Yun is very good. When Mommy comes back, let Mommy watch Yun-er's match." "Mommy will definitely watch Yun-er's match, and I will also cheer for Yun-er." The corner of the little fellow's mouth raised up. "Mommy will definitely be proud of Yun-er." When Shu Nan carried Xiaoyun and left, mournful cries rang out in the living room. Xiao Yi carried his beloved wife's corpse and looked at the pitch-black sky outside. After a long while, Xiao Yi said gravely, "Sini's death will not be announced to the public, I will find a way to save her. As for the hatred of killing my wife, absolutely irreconcilable. If I admit defeat so easily, then I wouldn't be an immortal emperor. Xiao Yi swore that when I recover to my peak strength, I will settle all the old and new grudges together." As for why he concealed the news of Xiao Yi's death, Xiao Yi didn't want anyone to know that someone killed his beloved wife, and that he was powerless to do anything about it. If Wei Chang knew what Xiao Yi was thinking right now, he would definitely use his honor's words. "A salted fish will always be a salted fish, even if it turns over, it will still be a salted fish." Xiao family was destined to have a tragedy tonight. However, in the eyes of Wei Chang and the others, this kind of ending was extremely fortunate. If it was in the past, Xiao family would have already been exterminated. As for keeping Xiao Yi alive, it wasn't that Yihua didn't think about it. After all, life is as dull as water, and it is still possible to occasionally have some fun. I just hope that Xiao Yi will work hard and not let me down. However, as a supreme overlord, Yihua was currently facing a headache. Qingya was actually lying on his chest and talking in her sleep. "Yihua, I'm going to spank your butt, you high and mighty fellow." Qingya hugged onto Yihua's body like a koala bear while clamoring. From time to time, Qingya would punch onto Yihua's body. Although the punches were very light, it was enough to wake Yihua up. This foolish woman, she actually dares to say such unrealistic words. How can my butt be something that you can hit? Even when I am sleeping, you are still so restless. God knows where the blanket has been moved to. Yihua let out a sigh, then lowered the temperature of the air conditioner by a bit, then covered that alluring and lovely body of hers. After that, he stood up and walked into his office, lit up a cigarette and looked at the full moon. "Your Honor." Not knowing when, Wei Chang appeared behind Yihua and was respectfully kneeling on the ground. Wei Chang took out the document bag and said, "Your Honor, the matter has been settled." Yihua silently took a puff of the cigarette, then puffed out a lump of smoke. At first glance, the smoke actually formed a skull, but very quickly, the skull dissipated. Compared to money, what Yihua cared more about was whether the mysterious person was dead or not. Who did she kill? Xiao Yi's true love, Nangong Sini. Yihua thought back to the woman who was at the banquet that night, and he didn't have any good impression of her. If your honor is not satisfied, subordinate can go and kill a few more of them. Wei Chang said coldly. I feel that your honor doesn't seem to be satisfied. No need, don't forget our identity, we are law-abiding people. Your honor is wise, subordinate is truly enlightened. Yihua flicked the cigarette ash. Oh right, how is Long Out inside? Subordinate has arranged for people to watch over him, he won't be jumping out to cause trouble in a short period of time. Yihua extinguished the cigarette and said faintly, just let them work hard for a bit, if not, they won't know what true despair is. Wei Chang's eyes shone. His honor has really changed. In the past, his honor would always push his way forward, but now, he knows how to strategize. Your honor's good fortune is as boundless as the heavens, subordinate is far inferior to you. Yihua patted onto Wei Chang's shoulder, heavens. Hee, go back and sleep early, don't let your little girlfriend wait for too long. Ah. Wei Chang didn't explain. As an overlord subordinate, even I don't know how to open my mouth, so I asked Lai Gu. And Lai Gu's answer was very straightforward, if you take off your pants, then do it. Could it be that you are going to wear your pants and do it? Wei Chang couldn't be as straightforward as Lai Gu. Xiao Tang is a good girl, how can she be compared to those celebrities? Originally, I had that thought tonight, and I had even prepared the condoms, but in the end, didn't an accident occur? Forget it, I feel so vexed, I should just ask His Honor to give me an idea, Lai Gu is too unreliable. Your Honor, subordinate has a question, I hope that your Honor can enlighten subordinate. Yihua, who was preparing to return, turned around and asked curiously, what is it? Wei Chang stammered, feeling a little embarrassed. Looking at Wei Chang's expression, Yihua became even more curious. This kind of expression doesn't seem to be something that should appear on Wei Chang's face. Speak. Wei Chang threw caution to the wind and asked, Your Honor, I want to do that with Xiao Tang, how can I do that? How can I make Xiao Tang agree to do that with subordinate? That? Yihua was a bit stupefied. That is mating. Luckily, the lights were switched off, if not, Yihua would be able to see Wei Chang's red face. Yihua thought that it was something important, but it turns out that it is mating. However, how can Wei Chang use such a word to describe it? But thinking about it, Wei Chang's true body was originally a monster. Yihua paused for a moment. When a subordinate is in trouble, as the boss, of course, I have to step forward and solve it, I do have some experience. Wei Chang was overjoyed, I hope that your honor can guide me. Just push him down directly. I didn't expect that his honor would be the same as Lai Gu, simple and crude. The idol dramas that I watched aren't like that, they are very bashful. Subordinate understands. Wei Chang could only accept it humbly. In this aspect, you have to learn more from Lai Gu. Yihua said faintly, then walked out of the office, leaving behind Wei Chang, who was in a daze. Seems like his honor is also unable to solve my problem, perhaps I can only seek help from the madam, this is so annoying. Lying back on the bed, Qingya, who was beside Yihua, asked in a low voice, You went to smoke again? Qingya changed her posture and hugged onto Yihua, then asked faintly, What do you want to eat tomorrow morning? Sailong Bayo. Yihua moved slightly and hugged onto Qingya's shoulder. Right now, I have already come to a conclusion, this woman will only be obedient on the bed, as long as she gets off the bed, it seems like she will change into another person. Thinking about it, Yihua once again fell asleep. Not knowing how long had passed, the sound of splashing water rang out beside Yihua's ears. It actually started raining heavily early in the morning. Yihua's right hand moved, and his brows wrinkled. Where is she? Immediately, Yihua opened his eyes, and the woman beside him actually disappeared. This caused Yihua's heart to sink. The bedroom door was suddenly pushed open. "Aya, why is it raining while buying breakfast?" Chinya pouted her small mouth and complained. Chinya's beautiful hair could be seen dripping wet, her shoulders were completely drenched, her beautiful face was filled with water droplets, and her delicate hands were carrying xilongbeo and kelp soup that was already packed. Perhaps because she was jogging, a lot of soup had spilled out. Chapter 107. Chinya placed the soup dumplings on the plate, then turned her head around and looked towards Yihua. "Why are you still in a daze for? Quickly go and wash your face and brush your teeth, it won't taste good if it gets cold." Yihua wrinkled his brows, seemingly a bit unhappy. "Come over." "What?" "Chinya is the same as well. I went out early in the morning to buy food for you to eat, yet when you come back, you don't even give me a good look. I am simply unable to communicate with you. If I ask you to come over, then just come over. Why are you talking so much nonsense?" Yihua's tone became heavier, causing Chinya to feel very unhappy and wronged. However, he wanted to see what this bastard was going to do. If he took an inch, he would definitely run away from home this time. With a face filled with coldness, Chinya sat beside Yihua, and when Yihua saw Chinya's wet appearance, he wished that he could slap this foolish woman awake. Doesn't she know how to take shelter from the rain? Yihua stretched out his hand and placed it on Chinya's back. A gentle radiance appeared on Yihua's palm, and Chinya's beautiful hair and clothes were gradually dried. "Don't you know to bring an umbrella when you go out? Why are you so stupid?" Yihua lectured. Originally, Chinya thought that Yihua would fly into a rage, and didn't expect that it would be like this. Feeling the warmth coming from Yihua's back, Chinya's heart felt like it was about to melt. "This fellow is just too concerned about my face." Chinya snorted. "Isn't it all for the sake of letting you eat something hot?" Looking at Chinya's slightly arrogant appearance, Yihua suddenly had the urge to push her down, just like how he dealt with her that night. However, Yihua endured this urge. The words that the Supreme Overlord had said are like water that was spilled out. It is absolutely impossible for me to make irresponsible remarks. Not long later, Chinya's clothes dried up. Yihua stood up and said faintly, "Let's go out and eat breakfast together tomorrow." After finished speaking, Chinya went to wash up, leaving behind the adorable Chinya. However, right now, Chinya was still feeling very happy in her heart. In actuality, having a cultivator as a husband is not bad. To think that a cultivator actually knows how to dry clothes, in the future, I will even have money left for ironing clothes. Yihua had a bit of understanding towards the soup dumplings. After dipping the soup dumpling into the chili sauce, the soup dumpling would become bright red, and it would look very appetizing. With a bite, the meat filling of the soup dumpling and the chili sauce would mix together in the mouth, and it would feel very comfortable. However, eating a steamed bun and drinking a mouthful of kelp soup was a perfect match. In actuality, the reason why Yihua was willing to stay in this world and not leave was also because of food. "Yihua, bring me along after breakfast," Yihua asked faintly. "Addicted? How can this be called addiction? When I can eat chicken on my own, it will be a great success." "I'm still addicted." "It's not addiction. You're really addicted." Yihua, do you want to quarrel again?" "I'm bored anyway." "Let's quarrel first." "Chinya, this fellow was much gentler yesterday, but he was still the same today. He even said that he was bored and quarreled first. What kind of husband and wife would quarrel for no reason?" "I am already full, you can eat by yourself." Chinya pouted coquettishly, then turned around and walked towards her little sister's room. Yihua drank a mouthful of kelp soup, then said faintly, "You are still addicted to it." After eating and drinking to his heart's content, Yihua picked up the documents from the office, then went to Qin Yutong's room. As expected, Qin Yutong was sitting alone in the room, and Qin Yutong had a serious look on her face. His results were not bad. He actually managed to get to 15. His chances of getting chicken dinner were very high. However, Yihua decided to let Qinya experience the feeling of a black screen. Casually walking past the power source, Qinya, who was extremely nervous, suddenly went into a daze. Why did the screen turn black? When she turned her head around to take a look, she discovered that her man's leg was touching the power source. Yihua. Oh, I accidentally kicked it. Yihua turned his head around and looked elsewhere. I'm going to fight it out with you. Qinya immediately jumped onto Yihua's body, seemingly wanting to suffocate Yihua to death. Do you know how it feels now? This was the revenge of a supreme overlord. Qinya punched onto Yihua's chest with her small fists. Yihua took out the document bag and waved it in front of Qinya's eyes. Take a look. Humph, what is this? Qinya jumped down and took over the document bag from Yihua's hands. Don't think that by gifting me a few things, I will be able to forgive your actions just now. You have to bring me to eat chicken dinner for an entire day. Qinya pouted her small mouth and mumbled. However, when she saw the contents of the document bag, she was completely stupefied. Pointing at the document bag, then pointing at Yihua, she was shocked to the point that she couldn't speak. Yihua sighed. Just this little thing and she is already shocked to this extent. After a while, Qinya calmed down. Yihua, Shao family returned the money to us, is this true? Could it be that this is fake? That's not right, they won't return the money to us. They aren't prepared to return the money to us, so I asked someone to go and check the accounts. Fortunately, they are tactful and returned the money to me. Yihua sat beside Qin Yutong's bed and said with a lukewarm tone, but there was a suspicion of him bragging, which was commonly known as acting cool. Acting cool again, but you asked someone to go and check the accounts, is this really good? Nothing happened, right? If there's anything, we can talk about it properly, don't fight. Qinya asked with concern. Yihua laughed lightly. Do I look like that kind of person who would casually make a move? Yihua, actually, I quite like it when you aren't acting cool. Qinya, actually, I prefer you when you are on the bed. Go to hell, scoundrel. Qinya placed the document bag at the side, then squatted down and plugged in the power source, and actually started eating chicken dinner again. This made Yihua feel that it was strange. Doesn't this woman view money as her life? Shouldn't she be changing her clothes and going to handle the procedures? Are you very curious? Qinya said faintly. Indeed. Qinya held onto her chin and said faintly, if subordinates are not used to do things, then what's the use of having subordinates? Hearing that his woman had such a realization, Yihua felt very gratified. Finally, he started to realize this point. What are you spacing out for? Quickly come and play with me. I really shouldn't have let her play games. Zijin City, Tang family. Tang Wushuang's expression was grave as he smoked his cigarette non-stop. The ashtray was filled with cigarette butts, seems like he didn't sleep at all yesterday. Wushuang, I didn't expect that Xianyuan's sword would actually fall into Brother Zhao's hands. Quan Anrong said gravely. Tang Wushuang let out a heavy sigh. That's right, back then when Xianyuan's sword appeared, it created a reign of terror. I didn't expect that Brother Xiao actually took Xianyuan's sword behind my back. Wushuang, do you have any thoughts about what happened last night? The news that the spy sent over was that Brother Xiao won, but it was a Pyrrhic victory. However, after the fight ended, that person appeared again. Tang Wushuang was unable to understand what was going on. Logically speaking, the second time that person appeared, he should have killed Xiao Yi, but he didn't. Could it be that he really took the money and left? Quan Onrung took out a document bag and handed it over to the man. Wushuang, take these and go and see how Brother Xiao is doing. Tang Wushuang took a look at the things inside the document bag, and his brows wrinkled deeply. No matter what, that night, you and Brother Xiao gambled together, we can still afford to lose this bet. After closing the document bag, Tang Wushuang said gravely, Onrong, are you afraid of that person as well? Chapter 108. That's right, if it was really that man who called them over, then who is he? Quan Onrong suggested, Wushuang, you can find someone to test him out. And Rong, other people will be more curious about that man's identity, we should not stand out. Tang Wushuang was not an idiot, even Xiao Yi suffered a loss, I have to be cautious. Hubby is still the smart one, quickly go and take a bath, then go and see how Brother Xiao is doing. All right. Tang Wushuang let out a breath. Brother Xiao did not die yesterday, Zijin City is going to be quiet again, and a lot of people are going to be disappointed. Why didn't the other party kill Xiao Yi? I really don't understand. Right now, inside Bai family's castle, Wang Debao and Bai Cixin had just finished their morning exercise. Wang Debao had a comfortable expression as he hugged onto the woman that other people were envious of. Only Wang Debao dares to press down on Bai family's woman, TSK, wife, was the 50 billion spent worth it? Wang Debao said bewilderedly. From the situation last night, Xiao Yi seemed to have won. As for the black-robed man that appeared at the end, Wang Debao was not sure. Bai Cixin leaned on her husband's side and said faintly, I can only say that we didn't lose anything. Then, should we ask for the money back? Wang Debao was also testing his wife's attitude, and he became a lot more daring. Debao, how about you go? Wang Debao paused for a moment, then looked at the ceiling and said, do I, Wang Debao, look like someone who can't afford to lose? If I ask for the money back, how embarrassing would that be? Besides, it doesn't matter if I lose my face, but if I lose your face, that wouldn't be good. Bai Cixin laughed lightly, you really know how to talk. Wang Debao let out a sigh of relief, luckily my desire to live is high. Let's put aside the matter about the money first, you still have to go back to the south to control the situation. Those rich merchants of Long and City and Yun sect are searching for treasures together, you have to pay more attention to them. Bai Cixin sat up, her sexy body was exposed to the air, causing Wang Debao's eyes to stare straight at her. After putting on her light pajamas, Bai Cixin picked up the secret document on the table and took a look, then frowned. Wife, what's wrong? Bai Cixin put down the documents and walked to the window with graceful steps. She looked into the distance. Debao, go back to the south later. The treasure this time is not simple. You must find it before they do. Wang Debao put on his clothes and his expression became serious. Wife, what kind of treasure is it? Ancient godly item. Wang Debao's expression changed drastically, and he muttered, when the Xianyuan sword appeared, the northerners fought until their heads bled, and there were countless casualties. After a few years, an ancient godly item actually appeared again. Debao, the Xianyuan sword has been snatched away by Xiao Yi. This time, we must obtain the ancient godly item. Bai Cixin heaved a sigh of relief. She turned around and combed her husband's hair. The Bai family seemed powerful, but they were still far from being able to compete with some of the ancient aristocratic families and sections. Other people had been through the baptism of time, and their foundations were very strong, whereas Bai family only lacked an ancient godly item, and with that, they would be able to stand on equal footing with Xiao family. Surpassing Xiao family would only be a matter of time. Wang Debao hugged his wife's waist. Don't worry, isn't it just an ancient godly item? I will definitely help my wife get it back. Debeo, you have to be careful. I can only stand guard here. I can't help you much. Wang Debeo laughed heartily and lifted Bai Cixin's chin. Wife, wash up and wait for your husband to come back. You aren't being serious again, Bai Cixin pinched onto her husband's waist. Meanwhile, Wang Debeo carried his wife and returned to the bed. Seems like there will be another round of overtime. The news of an ancient godly item appearing in Long and City swept through the whole of Huaxia in an instant. The rich merchants and Yun sect in Long and City were extremely furious. Just which bastard leaked the information? In actuality, the ones who were the most furious were those rich merchants. Originally, they thought that there were only some ordinary treasures inside, and they didn't expect that there were even ancient godly items inside. No wonder Yun sect was so courteous. Only now did they know the real reason: they were too cunning. The whole south started to move, and they all rushed towards Long and City. Even if they couldn't obtain it, it was fine for them to have a look. The northerners also started to move, and they secretly snuck into the south. After all, the treasure appeared in the south this time, and the sects and families in the north did not have the qualifications to get involved. Just like how the Xian Yuan sword appeared back then, the south did not get involved either. However, just last night, a lot of people heard about the might of the Xian Yuan sword, and it was practically exactly the same as what was said in the legends. However, right now, a second ancient godly item appeared. How could the northerners sit still? Without a doubt, Long and City, which was a second-tier city, was going to be in turmoil. Qinya, divert the firepower from the side. Qinya, drive. Qinya, give me the level 3 helmet. Qinya, support me. Go and die. Qinya snorted. Even if I die, I still have to support you. I have to give all the good equipment to you. Yihua took a sideways glance at Qinya. If I die, who is going to carry you to eat chicken? Have you ever carried me to eat chicken before? Isn't it because you are too noob? At most, you can be considered as a level 4 bun. Yihua said indifferently, angering Qinya half to death. Who are you calling a level 4 bun? Qinya shouted out gravely. A quarrel was going to happen at any moment. Could it be that there is someone else in this room? I'm going to fight it out with you. Qinya directly jumped onto Yihua's thigh, and the posture was rather ambiguous. Children, please close your eyes. At this moment, the door of the room was suddenly pushed open, and Yihua and Qinya immediately looked towards the door. Qin Yutong could be seen dragging her luggage and looking at her big sister and brother-in-law with an adorable look. You two are actually doing that in the room of an unmarried girl in broad daylight. You two are too perverted. Qin Yutong's face collapsed and said pitifully, as if she would not be able to get married in the future. Qinya glared at Yihua fiercely and stood up. Why didn't you two give me a call? Big sister will go and pick you up. I almost blew up your phone calling. I think that you two can't wait for me to not go home. Qinya touched her pocket, and only then did she remember that her phone was still in the bedroom, and Yihua's phone was most probably in the bedroom as well. Yutong, big sister will treat you to a big meal at noon. You want to pacify your little sister's hurt mood with just a meal. Whatever you say, in any case, big sister only has money left right now. Yihua leaned against the window and lit up a cigarette. Qinya, it is almost noon, hurry up and sell the food. I'll go and get my phone. Qin Yutong was about to kneel down to Yihua. These two are planning to be otakus to death. In the past, big sister wasn't an otakus at all, but I didn't expect that after getting together with brother-in-law, she would instantly become an otakus, and even the company doesn't care about her anymore. If this goes on, I will be more or less the same as brother-in-law, facing bankruptcy. Qinya found her phone on the table in the bedroom and opened it to take a look. She discovered that there were a lot of missed calls, and among the missed calls were from Yutong and her father. Helpless, she could only call them. Dad. What's going on with Xiao family? Qin Huashuan's questioning voice immediately rang out from the phone. Qin replied faintly, I don't know. You still don't know? Do you know how many people are distancing themselves from us? Isn't that even better? You are able to clearly distinguish who is good to you and who is bad to you. Chapter 109. All right. Good. Good. Now that your wings have grown, don't you? If you have the ability, then don't go back home for your entire life. On the other side of the phone, Qin Huaxian was practically roaring. If you don't want to go back, then I won't go back. Qin was someone who was susceptible to coaxing but not coercion. The more it was like this, the more Qin resisted. After hanging up her father's phone call, Qin's mood wasn't that good. If I compare Yihua with my father, I suddenly discovered that Yihua is much better than my father. At least Yihua wouldn't berate me because of other people. After adjusting her mentality, Qin walked towards her little sister's room. What do you want to eat? I'll treat you. KFC. KFC family bucket. Qin Yutong raised her hand and said while smiling. Qin shook her head. These two are just children. In any case, I am a person who has a net worth of 100 billion, and yet, the two of you only eat KFC. Seeing that big sister finish picking, Qin Yutong blinked her beautiful eyes. Brother-in-law, big sister, how about we go for a round? I have the same intention. Yihua said faintly. You think I'm afraid of you? 3 consecutive players immediately went online, and of course, they would be playing in a party. On the way, the cold and aloof Yihua and Qin had always been silent, and only Qin Yutong would be chattering and flirting with other people. And this time was no exception. They met a passerby. This round was a mirage, and the 3 people appeared very quickly. Qin Yutong was already impatient to tease people. Little brother. Big sister. Qin Yutong shouted out sweetly. If the other party was a big brother, he would definitely become a level 4 backpack for me. Even my brother-in-law has a big sister to become a level 4 backpack, so I naturally want to have someone to run errands for me. After waiting for more than 10 seconds, the other party did not reply, and Qin Yutong thought to herself that something is wrong. Could it be that the other party is a female? Big brother, do you have a microphone? Qin Yutong asked. Finally, the passerby replied, just that. This sentence made Qin Yutong's face turn black. Aunt, hello. Yihua and Qin were both wearing earphones, and they were able to hear each other's voice. Yihua let out a sigh. This is really like that saying, you will never know who your teammates are. Bringing along 2 level 4 bags is already very disadvantageous for me, and now, I still have to bring along a burden. Qin Yutong took a deep breath. This little fellow actually called me aunt. Auntie. Oh my god, I'm still a virgin. Little friend, not auntie, it's big sister. Qin Yutong's smile was very forced. A trace of an arc appeared on the corner of Yihua and Qin's mouth. We finally got to see Qin Yutong being teased instead. Mother said that only children who are about the same age as Ali are called big brother and big sister. Auntie, your voice is so nice. It's about the same age as mother, so you must be much older than Ali. In an instant, a few black lines appeared on Qin Yutong's brows, especially when she heard the phrase, a lot bigger. She made herself look like an old witch. But this little guy is not bad. He knows how to flatter me and say that my voice is nice. Little fellow, how old are you, to actually play games? Have you done your homework or not? Seeing that Qin Yutong was unable to be stubborn anymore, Qin Yutong began to use her age to bully Qin Yutong. Ali has finished the homework assigned by mother. Auntie, don't you need to go to work? I heard that adults who don't go to work are no different from salted fish. The immature voice of a little girl rang out from the earpiece. Qin Yutang had met an opponent with high strength. Yi Hua and Qin Yu took a look at each other. We are both jobless people. Qin Yutang coughed lightly to express her awkwardness. In actuality, her entire person was in a bad mood. Little fellow, Auntie has a special occupation. You still haven't told Auntie how old you are. Li will be 3 years old this year. The three immediately went into a daze. It is actually a little kid who is almost 3 years old. Qin Yutang felt very sullen, being bullied by a little kid who is almost 3 years old. However, it is normal for a little kid who is almost 3 years old to call me auntie. This is so painful, being called auntie by someone. Qin Yutang asked curiously, "Where's your mother?" "Mother went out." "Why are you calling mother?" "Why aren't you calling mother?" Li doesn't know either. "Then, what about your father?" "Mother said that father died." The little fellow's tone immediately became downcast. Qin Yu glared at her little sister. "How can you go and bully a child?" "Li, I'm sorry." "Auntie, it's alright." Li is already used to it. Although the little girl said it very casually, the three could tell that her tone was very downcast, and Qin Yu subconsciously rubbed onto her stomach. Qin Yutang patted onto her chest. "Li, don't worry, Auntie will bring you to eat chicken." "Is Auntie very powerful?" "Of course, Auntie is a beautiful girl warrior. I can take down everything in a matter of minutes." "That's great. Are the other two Auntie's friends as well?" Li asked with her childish voice. Qin Yutang giggled. "That's right, they are all cold type, they don't talk at all. Uncle and Auntie are all cold type. My mother is also a bit like that, everyone is afraid of her." Li said in a low voice, seemingly as if she was afraid of being heard by others. Qin Yu let out a sigh. "Thanks to my little sister, I have also become an auntie." Very quickly, the four entered the plane, and the four prepared to jump. Qin Yutang gave the order, "We are going to jump to a place with fewer people, and develop wretchedly." "Auntie, why are we going to jump to a place with fewer people?" Li often jumps to a boxing gym. Yi Hua, Qin Yu, Qin Yutang, to actually ask why are we going to jump to a place with fewer people, is there even a need to ask? Of course, it's because we are noobs, and we are prepared to stay low all the way. However, as an elder, how can I be looked down upon by a child? Qin Yutang said gravely, "Isn't Auntie afraid that Li will get hurt? That's why we are going to jump to a place with fewer people." "Auntie, don't worry, Li often wins chicken dinner." Yi Hua, Qin Yu, Qin Yutang. Qin Yutang was very hurt. She sneaked a glance at her brother-in-law and big sister, and their expressions were the same as well. So miserable, Yi Hua decided to bring them to win chicken dinner this round, only then would he be able to display the strength of a supreme overlord. "If I don't win chicken dinner this round, I will quit smoking for an hour." The four of them all jumped to the boxing gym, and there were quite a lot of people that jumped to the boxing gym. There were even 2 teams of people that jumped to the boxing gym. Yi Hua definitely has to display his true strength and let them know what an expert is. However, here came the problem, the entire boxing gym actually didn't have any loot. Not even a frying pan could be found. In actuality, it wasn't that Yi Hua hadn't seen this kind of situation before, he would occasionally bump into it a few times, but he didn't pay too much attention to it. However, today's situation was different. How could he not have any guns? At the same time, in the red building below the boxing gym, one of the rooms was filled with equipment, M4, 98K, level 3 helmet, level 3 armor, all kinds of bullets and medicine. F***K. What kind of luck does this streamer have, to actually bump into such a thing the moment he opened the door? "Brother, I'm afraid that this is your first time coming to see this streamer. Let me tell you, this streamer really didn't cheat. In any case, I am already in awe of the streamer's luck. If the airdrop didn't hit his face, then he would have really cheated. Chapter 110. Yihua, who was in the boxing dojo, was very annoyed. The two salted fishes were actually chasing after him and beating him up. This is also a game. If it was in reality, I would turn the two of you into a pool of blood. Brother-in-law, I'm here to save you. Qin Yutong suddenly jumped out from an unknown place and punched towards Qin Yutong. Yihua saw that half of his health bar was gone. This must be a spy sent by the enemy, right? Qin Yutong's head shrunk back. Brother-in-law, this is purely an accident. Who asked you to suddenly stop just now? Yihua was really speechless. This was already not the first time. There was another time when someone took out a 98K and aimed it at his head. Afterward, his helmet was destroyed, and the excuse was that his hand shook a little. Brother-in-law, be careful. Just when Yihua was absent-minded, a player jumped up high into the air and punched towards Yihua's head. Bang! It was the sound of a revolver. The person who jumped up was instantly shot in the head. His companion saw that someone else had a gun and immediately ran away. Bang! Another headshot. Yihua and the other two were stupefied. Ali ran over and asked in a childish voice, "Uncle, are you okay? I have some bandages here." Yihua felt hurt, really hurt. I have never felt so sullen before. I was actually saved by a little girl, and she even gave me a bandage. My God, the host in the red building had just finished cleaning up and was about to go to the boxing gym when he heard the sound of a revolver. The host's expression changed drastically. Host, run. The revolver monster has appeared again. Host, where there's life, there's hope. Run. Why did you guys tell the host to run? You guys don't know, but the host has been tortured by this revolver monster a few times in the past few days. After that, whenever she hears the sound of a revolver, she will take a detour. The host's equipment can't even beat a pistol. Sigh, it's not that the host is bad, but that the opponent is too strong. Sure enough, the host chose to drive away. He had tried countless times in the past, but he had always died under the revolver's marksmanship. The opponent was too brutal. With a pistol, little Ali was simply like a god slaying god. In just a short while, the entire boxing gym was cleared out. Yihua, who was holding on to his wife and sister-in-law, looked at the boxing gym blankly, and a feeling of powerlessness emerged from the bottom of his heart. Next, it was little Ali's turn to perform. Uncle, Auntie, please stay in the car. Let Ali charge first. Dong dong dong. Gunshots and grenades rang out from the house in front. Uncle, Auntie, you can come in and loot now. Yihua was very hurt. Qinya and Qin Yutong liked Yihua very much. This child is too interesting. Ali, why don't you let Aunt charge together with you? It's so dangerous for you to go alone. Qinya also started talking to Ali. Ali was very cheerful, and her sweet voice was very lovable. Ali said in a childish voice, "If Uncle and Auntie come, Ali will be distracted." Yihua, Qinya, Qin Yutong, from the looks of it, Ali had treated the three of them as burdens. Yihua was too hurt, and he didn't even want to continue playing anymore. To actually be treated as a burden by a little girl. Ali could be seen driving the pickup truck, and the pickup truck was completely silent. Uncle, Auntie, why aren't you talking? Was it because their equipment was too bad? Ali will snatch the airdrop for you. Looking at Yihua's expression, Qinya laughed out. Qin Yutong also looked over, and upon discovering that her brother-in-law's face was as black as coal, Qin Yutong immediately laughed out. Little Ali was confused. Auntie, what are you all laughing at? Qinya said tenderly, We are laughing at Uncle. He is too jealous of Ali. Ali seemed to have suddenly come to a realization. Uncle, I'm sorry. Ali stole your limelight and made you lose face in front of Auntie. the faces of the three immediately froze. Chinya and Qing Yutong immediately laughed to the point where they were gasping for breath. "Little Ollie is too cute," she actually said it out loud. Yihua endured the pain in his chest and said while gnashing his teeth, "Ollie, you played well." "It's alright, Ollie only played for a few days." Yihua almost vomited blood. Ollie is the strongest opponent that I have ever met. Before even exchanging blows, I was already angered to the point that I almost vomited blood. Every single sentence that Ollie said was filled with killing intent. With little Ollie, Yihua entered the finals without any difficulty. Furthermore, there were only 5 players left. 4 versus 1. It's over, the anchor is going to die. A song of death for the anchor. You guys don't need to say any more, the anchor is very formidable. She fought her way to the finals with 4 players. What's the use of not getting chicken? The commenter above is correct. Yihua didn't even know what he was doing in this round. I clearly wanted to show off my strength, but in the end, I didn't even do anything and reached the finals. Furthermore, I was even brought into the finals by a little child. If this were to be spread out, where would I put my face? This game is poisonous, uncle, auntie, Ollie, take care of him. This way, it will be fair. After finished speaking, little Ollie rushed out. In less than 10 seconds, little Ollie had already gotten rid of her opponent and got chicken. This was the first time in Yihua's life that he got chicken without doing anything. Chinya and Qing Yutong were extremely excited. The anchor is so miserable, he got beaten up. That's right, he is too weak, I'm unsubscribing. The anchor's heart was also collapsing. It is my fault that my opponent is too savage. Don't leave, as long as I don't meet with a revolver monster, I will definitely get chicken. Chinya and Qing Yutong excitedly hugged each other and celebrated. Meanwhile, Yihua's face was cold and unhappy. Little Ollie, tell auntie what is your name? Chinya asked curiously. Qing Yutong directly gave up on her brother-in-law and went to hug onto little Ollie's thigh. That's right, Ollie will bring Aunt to eat chicken. But mother said that I can't tell strangers Ollie's name. Little Ollie said pitifully, as if he was very afraid of his mother. Qing Yutong said tenderly, is auntie a bad person? Of course I'm not a bad person. Then tell auntie your name, little Ollie. After a moment of silence, Ollie's cute voice rang out, Uncle, auntie, my name is Dong Huangli. Just as Ollie reported his name, a woman's voice came from the headset. Ollie. Why are you playing games again? Have you finished your homework? When Yihua heard this voice, his brows slightly wrinkled. Little Ollie went offline. Chinya and Qing Yutong were depressed, and they were really worried for little Ollie. Her mother seemed to be very strict, and it could be seen from her tone just now. The takeout hasn't arrived yet. What's their phone number? I want to go and file a complaint. Yihua had a stomach full of anger but had no place to vent it. I actually got a chicken without doing anything. Seeing Yihua's angry look, Chinya and Qing Yutong couldn't help but laugh. Chinya consoled, Yihua, she is just a child, look at you, I'm sorry. I can't help but want to laugh again. Big sister, I beg of you, don't laugh anymore, my abs are about to come out. The two sisters took a look at each other, then once again burst out with laughter. Chapter 111. However, that little girl just now was indeed formidable, this point has to be confirmed. It's just that, these two silly women, are they that funny? I just don't want to cheat. Aya, when is my little nephew coming out? When the time comes, he will bring mom and Nan to eat chicken. Qing Yutong rubbed onto her big sister's stomach and giggled. Chinya revealed out a beautiful smile. It would be great if the little fellow was as obedient as that little girl just now, he wouldn't be like his father. What are you talking about? He should be like me. Yihua said gravely. Qingye snorted, seeing how pitiful you are, I won't bicker with you. At this time, the takeaway arrived. After eating a spicy chicken burger, Yihua walked down the stairs. The two sisters smiled but didn't say anything. After all, being dealt a blow by a little girl who wasn't even 3 years old was indeed quite hurtful. Walking down to the bar counter, Yihua mixed the wine that he liked, then lit up a cigarette. After taking a puff, he took a sip of the wine. This is life, the vexing matter is gone in an instant. After taking the wine and the cigarette, Yihua sat in the booth and slowly sunk into deep thoughts. Being invincible really feels so empty. Even if I win, I won't be able to make my heart feel happy. In the past, I still had opponents who were on par with me, and some of them were even stronger than me. The excitement in battle was so refreshing, but now, I really miss my previous opponents, and also those overlords who formed a group to kill me. I wonder if they are living well now. If they are living too well, then I will find a time to make them not living so well. Since I was dealt a blow by that little girl, I can only vent my anger on you two. If you two want to blame someone, then blame little Ollie. While thinking, Yihua fell asleep. Not knowing how long had passed, a voice rang out beside his ear. Your Honor. Your Honor. Yihua wrinkled his brows. Noticing that Wei Chang was standing beside him, he let out a breath of relief and sat up. Lighting up a cigarette, he looked at the time and said, Why are you here already at 5? Your Honor, subordinate just finished a meeting with Xiao Tang, and I don't plan on going back. Wei Chang bowed and said respectfully at the side. Yihua stood up and picked up the cigarette box on the table. Did you push her down? Subordinate feels that this matter needs to be handled carefully. Yihua nodded his head and said faintly, Not bad, you know how to think. Thank you for your praise, Your Honor. Wei Chang said with a smile. To be able to receive his honor's praise is such an honorable thing. Xiao Tang is truly my lucky star. While smoking, Yihua prepared to go upstairs. However, just when he stepped onto the stairs, he seemed to have thought of something and shouted out, Wei Chang, come over, I have something to ask you. Wei Chang jogged over, Your Honor, do you have anything to tell me? Yihua leaned on the railing of the stairs, then asked with his brows wrinkled, Do you still remember that woman from 3 years ago? 3 years ago. Wei Chang muttered. Why did Your Honor suddenly ask about this matter? Wei Chang asked curiously. Yihua puffed out a mouthful of smoke. It's nothing, I just suddenly thought of it. His honor is reminiscing about the past. His humanity is getting better and better. Subordinate congratulates his honor. Pausing for a moment, Wei Chang continued, Compared to Your Honor's first woman, Madam is much luckier. Yihua's interest was piqued. He straightforwardly sat at the side and listened to his subordinate's analysis. Tell me, how lucky is Madam? This subordinate does not dare to casually evaluate Madam. Yihua glared at him and said coldly, I asked you to speak, so speak. You are already evaluating Madam. Wei Chang was frightened to the point that he directly kneeled down. It's all my fault, why did I say Madam? This subordinate deserves to die. If you still don't speak, I will let Lai Gu go and kill your Xiao Tang. Yihua said faintly. In actuality, he just wanted to see how Wei Chang would react. As expected, Wei Chang became anxious, but very quickly, he hid his emotions. This subordinate will speak right now. Yihua slowly closed his eyes and waited for Wei Chang to speak. Your Honor's first woman, this subordinate still remembers it vividly. After all, she was the first human woman that Your Honor had ever touched. Her appearance was extremely beautiful, and only Madam's beauty could compete with her. However, for her to be able to receive Your Honor's favor, it is also her good fortune that she cultivated. Tell me the main point, how did Madam get lucky? Yi Hua said faintly. Wei Chang swallowed his saliva. Does your honor feel that there is any difference between 3 years ago and now? Yi Hua did not speak. 3 years ago, your honor's personality was still very unstable and moody, but now, your honor is able to control those emotions. Madam waited for your honor for 3 days, and your honor went downstairs to meet with her. From this, it can be seen that your honor has a compassionate heart. However, that woman was not as lucky as Madam. 2 months later, she came to Leisure Bar and waited for your honor for half a month, and your honor did not even come down to meet with her. Yi Hua slowly opened his eyes. She waited for me for half a month. You seem to have never told me about this before. Just like what subordinate said, back then, your honor was very unstable, and before subordinate could even open my mouth, your honor told subordinate to scram. Yi Hua extinguished the cigarette. There is such a thing. Right now, Wei Chang had learned how to read someone's expression and figure out what someone was thinking, just like now. Does your honor want subordinate to go down and look for her? Wei Chang asked. Yi Hua slowly walked upstairs and said calmly, no need, that one person has already made me worried to death. Wei Chang laughed. Madam is, after all, a human. Her words and actions are naturally different from your honor. Go and do your work. Yes. Regarding the first woman, Yi Hua suddenly thought of her today. Just like what Yi Hua had said, he would only touch the same woman once. This time, Qingye was just an accident, because she was pregnant with Yi Hua's bloodline. If not, there wouldn't be such a thing. Yi Hua walked up to the second floor. He had already forgotten about the matter of the first woman. She was just a passerby in my life, so I should just slightly reminisce about her. Pushing open the door, Yi Hua could see Qingye and Qing Yutong sitting in front of the computer with a serious expression. The atmosphere was extremely tense. I wonder if they will come and look for me if I turn off the power. Forget it, am I, the Supreme Overlord, such a senseless person? Only a foolish woman like Qingye would do something like turning off the power. However, as my woman, she is actually not infatuated with me, and instead, she likes to play games. In the beginning, it was work, and now, in a blink of an eye, it became a game. Brother-in-law, look at me and big sister, both of us managed to get into the top 10, and we are going to get chicken dinner soon. Qing Yutong began to become excited. The 2 women could be seen lying on the haystack, and the main point was that the 2 of them still had nervous expressions on their faces. Yi Hua let out a sigh. It should be about time to finish this game. Let's go out and eat. Sure. Yi Hua, can you not speak? Other people will hear what you say. Qingye said in a low voice. What else could Yi Hua say? Yi Hua straightforwardly lied down on his sister-in-law's bed and rested. Today, after being dealt a blow by little Ollie, I don't even want to play anymore. Chapter 112. Yutong, how about we play another round? Qingye was unwilling to admit defeat. And, the last round. Qing Yutong belonged to the type of person who would accompany him to the end, even if it was an all-nighter. It was the last round again. Yi Hua had already heard the last round countless of times. I really can't bear it anymore. Even if it is a childish thing, I still have to do it today. Ye Hua. Brother-in-law, how can you be like this? After unplugging the power, Yi Hua's face was filled with comfort. Even if you don't eat, my child still wants to eat. Isn't it just the last round? So stingy. Qingye pouted her mouth and went back to her room to change her clothes. I can't possibly wear pajamas when I go out, right? Qing Yutong looked at her brother-in-law and said tenderly, Brother-in-law, why aren't you going out yet? Could it be that you want to see sister-in-law change her clothes? Yi Hua took a glance at Qing Yutong, and Qing Yutong immediately crossed her arms around her chest and said shyly, brother-in-law, big sister is still at the side, don't look at me like that. He's not bad looking. Of course. It's just that he's a little silly. Brother-in-law, Yi Hua turned around and left. This sister-in-law's return has indeed added a bit of joy to me. Qin Yutong, who was in the room, stomped her feet and mumbled, "How am I stupid? Master, you are indeed a little silly sometimes. You're the stupid one. You're the most stupid person in the system. Master should understand the meaning of the saying, he who keeps company with ink will be stained black. All right. All of you have come to bully me. I will remember this debt. Master, you'd better write it down in your little notebook. I'm afraid you'll forget the oath you made." Qin Yutong clicked her tongue. "Don't mention my dark history." After Qin finished changing her clothes, she said to Yi Hua, "You go and change your clothes as well. It's summertime and you are still wearing a suit. Where is the short-sleeved shirt that you wore yesterday? It's too childish. Don't be long-winded, go in and change." Right now, Qin didn't want Yi Hua to be too stylish, lest some wild bees fly over to him. Qin walked downstairs and discovered that Leisure Bar was about to open for business, and everyone was starting to get busy. "Madam." Wei Chang walked over and greeted respectfully. Qin smiled gently. "Wei Chang, what's wrong?" Wei Chang looked at Tang Wei, who was not far away. She was currently wiping the table and said in a low voice, "Madam, Wei Chang has a request." "Oh. If I can help you, I will definitely help you," Qin said with a smile. Wei Chang respectfully said, "Actually, it's not a big deal. Madam should know that this subordinate is dating little Tang." Qin went into a slight daze for a moment. This Wei Chang claims to be my subordinate, so strange. However, after thinking about Yi Hua's identity, Qin felt relieved. This Wei Chang might be Yi Hua's underling, which means that Wei Chang is my underling. When my husband's underling is in trouble, of course I have to help him. I know. Didn't you say it last time? Is it that Yi Hua is too stingy? I will go and talk to him. Upon thinking that Yi Hua was still using Wei Chang's salary in the past, Qin felt helpless. Wei Chang was greatly startled. I didn't say that his honor is stingy, madam, you have misunderstood, subordinate is not talking about this matter. Then what is it? I feel that my relationship with Lil Tang can be improved, but I don't know where to start. Wei Chang was very embarrassed. He felt that he would lose face if he asked someone else, but asking his honor was equivalent to not asking at all. Thus, he could only ask the madam. Actually, Wei Chang asking Qin was equivalent to asking in vain. After all, Qin was also a newbie. This was the first time that Qin had encountered this kind of problem, and she still didn't really understand what Wei Chang meant. Improved? To what stage? Qin asked. Wei Chang let out a breath, then said in a low voice, "It is to reproduce offspring." Pfft. Reproduce offspring, this really made Qin speechless. Isn't this phrase a little too appropriate? Qin paused for a moment. This problem is a bit thorny. Thinking back to my own experience, I don't seem to have any process. Yi Hua just pushed me, then when the conditions were right, success would follow naturally. If that's the case, then I can conclude the strategy of a man. Qin said with an appearance of someone who had been through the same thing. Wei Chang, a man has to take the initiative, he just has to push her down directly. Wei Chang, who had a face full of anticipation, immediately froze. His honor is like this, even madam gave the same answer. They really don't have any mood at all, just watch an idle drama, that romantic atmosphere. Seems like both his honor and madam don't have any mood at all and went straight to the point. I, Wei Chang, am a man with mood, how can I be so casual about it? Seems like I can only rely on myself for this matter. Thank you, madam, for your pointers. Qinya took a glance at the diligent Tang Wei and said, Lil Tang is a pretty good girl, don't let her down. This subordinate will follow madam's instructions. Qinya really wasn't used to this kind of thing. Does everyone in the cultivation world speak like this? Goosebumps appeared all over his body. Sis, what are you guys talking about? Qing Yutong bounced down the stairs, and when Qinya saw her little sister's face, she immediately blushed with shame. Wei Chang bowed as a form of greeting before retreating. Qinya's eyebrows wrinkled. Why did you change into my appearance again? Big sister, you are beautiful. Qing Yutong held on to Qinya's willowy arm and said with a smile. What Qinya said was right, Qinya merely snorted. Not long after, Yihua walked down the stairs. This was the first time that Qing Yutong saw her brother-in-law wearing a short-sleeved shirt, and she teased, Brother-in-law, you are so childish. Yihua took a glare at Qinya, and the image of his main body was completely gone. With a smile on her face, Qinya walked forward and held onto her husband's arm. All right, let's go and cook hot pot. Qing Yutong immediately held onto her brother-in-law's other side. All right, let's go and prepare hot pot. Qing Yutong. What are you doing? What do you mean what? This is the etiquette of holding hands, do you know? Big sister, you are out. Yihua would naturally seize the opportunity to take revenge. You are indeed out. Just you wait. The three walked out of leisure bar while bickering. Wei Chang looked at his honor and thought to himself, his honor's change is really big. This is all thanks to the madam. At this moment, Tang Wei walked over slowly and called out tenderly, Uncle Wei, Xiao Tang, what's wrong? Uncle Wei, the light at my side is broken. The light is broken, huh? It's fine, Uncle Wei will go and fix it for you after work. All right. Not far away from the alley, there was a hot pot restaurant called King Song's Mansion's Hot Pot Restaurant. The name King Song's Mansion wasn't just for show. In the past, only the nobles could afford to eat at the hot pot, and right now, everyone could feel how fast the nobles' mouths were. Luckily, Yihua and the others left the house early. If not, they would have to line up at the restaurant. Even so, there were no more private rooms left, and they could only eat at the main hall. If it was according to Yihua's conduct in the past, he definitely wouldn't eat at the main hall, because it would lower his status. However, it was different now. After all, he had done things that were lower than his status before. For example, at the beginning, when he bought a Chinese jianbing, for the sake of adding an extra egg, he even argued with the aunt for a long time. Add an extra egg for me. 1 egg is 2 RMB. You still want money. It is your honor to be able to eat at your restaurant. Young fellow, it is your honor to be able to eat my Chinese jianbing. Yihua expressed that he was unconvinced. After arguing for half an hour, the aunt finally said, Don't think that just because you are handsome, you can do whatever you want. Aunt is also beautiful before, I don't fall for this. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.